Chen Yuzhong says he heard they are all departing today. If it's just due to the response of the cultists, there's no need to leave so hastily. She explains that's not it. A matter they must attend to has come up, which is why they are departing earlier than intended. She expresses their thankfulness for his great hospitality. The old person wonders if there really is a spy within the martial artists' alliance, as the strategist said. There are definitely things that don't add up, and he thinks they need to return quickly and investigate. Meanwhile, she extends an invitation and says this is an invitation for the martial tournament from the head of the Martial Artists Alliance. Jin Yuzhong expresses gratitude and tells him that he will be attending since they are now allies, and she also thanks him. Marikium remarks that it is almost noon and it's time for him to head to the Great Courtyard Proclamation. The elderly person says he appears to be busy, so they will be taking their leave now. He thanks him and says he wishes him a safe return and thinks to himself, figures, who knows where the spy of the Six-Blade Martial School is lurking, and thinks they can't waste their time here. The scene shifts to the Flying Phantom Clan's guest house at 1:30 p.m., where Hyo Bong expresses disbelief and asks how everything was announced except their liege's ascension as the Vice Lord. Go Wang Hul acknowledges that Hyo Bong has a point and remarks that something seems strange. Sa Ma Chak explains that the proclamation at the Great Courtyard is supposed to announce important decisions made in the Excellent Hall meeting, and the fact that the appointment of the Vice Lord was left out is notable. H1 Yui questions whether this means that the Lord has perhaps had a change of heart. Go Wang Hul points out that the position of Vice Lord was claimed by their liege by winning in the Battle of the Heirs as well as securing witnesses, and he asks if that is something the Lord can overturn just because he feels like it. H1 Yui remarks that she's not sure if he's had a change of heart, but with the Lord's authority, as long as the 6 main clans don't object to it, there's no reason why he can't overturn his decision. Chin Yo-woon acknowledges this, saying that as long as there are no objections, he can renounce his appointment to the position at any time. She thinks he seems unfazed by it and believes he's acting like it doesn't concern him at all. She says she wants to tell him this later, but she thinks it's better. She says it now and explains that, as he knows, they have been working on recruiting the leftover forces of the Dark Clan. He replies that he's aware of that, then she says, but when they went back last night to contact them again, the Dark Clan's manor was utterly empty. He asks what she means by it was empty and asks if the remaining 4 clans made a move. She says he's only partially correct, then adds that the Lord's manor made a move. He asks if she means the warriors directly under the Lord and says half of the remaining forces of the Dark Clan were placed with the Sword Clan and the other half was placed under the Blade Clan. Sa Ma Chak asks if that means that the Lord personally strengthened the Sword Clan and Blade Clan and wonders if this isn't a clear sign that the Lord is keeping the Vice Lord in check. He disagrees and says this isn't simply to keep him in check, but to keep things in balance. Sa Ma Chak asks what he means. Then he replies that he's balancing the sides by strengthening the 2 clans to keep him in check, and the reason why he didn't officially announce his ascension at the Great Courtyard is to tell the 4 clans that they still have a chance. He says, in other words, he's goading him and the 4 clans into facing off. Hyo Bong inquires how the Lord can be doing such a thing, and H1 Yui thinks that he has seen through the essence of the Lord. The Lord they have observed has been a heartless man. She wonders why he has no attachment to his clan or even his own flesh and blood, and says everything has only served as pawns to strengthen and protect his power and authority. Moon Jae-yu thinks the Lord isn't their ally, while Ja Woo-min thinks about what they are supposed to do with this information. He responds he'd like to ask everyone present. Chin Yo-woon asks if they can trust him and follow him no matter what happens. They all become surprised, and he says there are currently many things wrong with their cult, and he'd like to return their cult to the way it was when the heavenly demonic founder first created it. Meanwhile, he asserts that even if it means having to oppose the current hierarchy of the cult, they should trust and follow him. Hyo Bong expresses his sadness that he even has to ask, stating that no matter what path they choose, he will always follow him. Go Wang Hul echoes Hyo Bong's sentiment, affirming that whether it is the path of an Asura or a thorny one that will leave him bloody, he will always follow him. They all declare their unwavering loyalty, stating that they will follow him no matter what. H1 Yui ponders what he will do now to face the remaining 4 clans in this situation. He confirms his decision, stating that they will have to cancel their previous plans. She asks if he has a better idea in mind and laughs. He explains that he wants to balance the sides, and he's going to disrupt that balance. She inquires whether he intends to go to the Dark Dragon Palm clan to increase their forces. He confirms that's the plan. She suggests that in that case, she will go see Mongo, the leader of the hallucinatory sword clan, along with Council Elder Sama Yui, noting that Council Elder Sama Yui and Council Elder Mongo are close friends who graduated from the Demonic Academy together. She thanks Go Wang Hul and states that she'll take Council Elder Yon and Moon Jayu with her, asking if he can cooperate with the rest and recruit clans that are currently neutral. Hyobong offers to accompany him, but she refuses, insisting he stay. She observes that his eyes don't indicate he's going to back down. He concedes, allowing him to come along, and he becomes excited. He requests that they also take Beak-gi this time and asks if just the two of them will be sufficient. Beak-gi laughs and asserts that they will be more than enough, to which Go Wang Hul replies, make sure he looks after their liege well, Beak-gi gets irritated and retorts, acting like he's all that. The scene shifts to the northwest sector of the heavenly demonic castle, specifically the manor of the Dark Dragon Palm clan, at the office of the clan leader, where a cadet arrives and announces that he has come to make a report as the guard in charge of security. The clan leader asks what the matter is, and he responds that the Vice Lord is requesting a meeting with him. The clan leader asks what this is about, and he instructs to call the director immediately and tell him to prepare the guest house. He emphasizes that the preparations must be perfect. The cadet agrees and leaves. Chin Yo-woon and his warriors arrive, and Moon Jayu remarks that this place is her clan's manor. Hyobong also looks around and admires the surroundings, thinking, wow, it's fantastic. Even someone like me, who knows nothing about refinement, can tell this place is incredible. Moon Jayu confirms that it really is, mentioning that her grandfather's sole hobby is gardening. Moon Yon approaches and introduces himself as the 8th Council Elder, offering greetings to the Vice Lord. He reciprocates the greeting. Moon Yon notices that Moon Jayu is still wearing her mask and suggests that he personally take them to the guest house. He responds that he could have just sent a servant and expresses gratitude for the reception. A guard arrives, running, and calls for Moon Yon. He asks what the matter is now. The guard reports that the 3rd Council Elder, the 4th Council Elder, and young Master Chinmaijiam are outside, requesting a meeting with him immediately. He is surprised and asks why they are all here. He responds that they are all here and he can do what's easiest for him. Moon Yon thanks him for his consideration and instructs the guard to bring them inside and into a different building, stating that he's going to first show the Vice Lord the way. The guard acknowledges and leaves. They all sit outside in the park to enjoy the beautiful natural scenery. Chin Yo-woon remarks that this place is gorgeous, noting that it's no wonder people say that Moon Yon is deeply attuned to the art of gardening. Moon Yon laughs and modestly says it's just something he does to pass the time and his compliments are too much. Meanwhile, Moon Yon announces that he has prepared a meal, suggesting they chat while they eat. Chin Yo-woon responds, thanking him for the warm welcome. Hyobong looks at the food and becomes excited, thinking that something has happened every time they've visited a council elder, but he guesses things will go smoothly this time. He recalls people saying that Council Elder Moon Yon has a granddaughter, and since Moon Jayu is said to have a twin sibling, that granddaughter must be his younger sister. He hopes that Council Elder Moon Yon doesn't try to push his granddaughter onto their liege like what Council Elder Sama Yui attempted to do, and laughs. Moon Yon suggests they dig in and chat. The guard intervenes, stating he can't do this because there are other guests present, and tries to block his way. Chinmaijiam insists that this matter is urgent. Moon Yon looks at them and recognizes the 4th Council Elder, Spring Clan Leader Jajian Kyung, the 3rd Council Elder, Blade Clan Leader Bu Cheol-yan, and Spring Clan Vice Lord Candidate Chin Mu-jian. He also looks at them, and Moon Yon gets up from his seat, saying, please excuse him for a moment. He goes to them and greets them all, stating that he had asked them to wait as he has guests who arrived first, and he questions the meaning of such discourtesy. Yajiam Kyung apologizes, stating that as a council elder of the cult, he couldn't help but come to greet the Vice Lord after hearing he was here, and he asks if they could take a moment to welcome the Vice Lord. Moon Yon responds, please go ahead, and they all proceed to Chin Yo-woon. While he is having a drink, they all arrive. Bu Cheol-yang greets him and introduces himself, and Yajiam Kyung also introduces himself and greets him. He looks at Chinmujiam, who becomes irritated and thinks, damn it, he can't believe he has to lower his head to this lowly rascal and greet him as well. He states that he didn't think that he'd also have business with Council Elder Moon Yon and that he had something to discuss with him. Bu Qiaoyang acknowledges this and adds that they also have an answer they seek from Council Elder Moon Yon. Moon Yon asks what he means, and Chinmujiam responds, please don't embarrass him like that, and asks if they sent him a messenger hawk recently or if he has already forgotten. Moon Yon attempts to refuse and say something, but Bu Qiaoyang quickly interjects, stating that he'd take it into consideration and explaining that young Master Chinmujiam is here to meet his granddaughter personally. Moon Yon thinks to himself that he believes he'd consider it since it's rude to reject it flat out, and he reflects on how this is their response. He calls to him, asking if the opinion of the individual in question is essential for marriage. He laughs and agrees, saying he wants her to be able to decide for herself. Bu Qiaoyang thinks to himself that he's putting himself in a corner and acknowledges that one's opinions are important, but wonders if she will be able to say no while being confronted by the Lord's son. Meanwhile, Chinmujiam looks at Moon Jiayu and wonders why she is stepping up as he walks towards him. Go Wanghul becomes shocked and asks if it could be an artificial skin mask. Moon Jiayu says to let her introduce herself to the young master and council elders, stating that she's the granddaughter of council elder Moon Yon Moon Jiayu. Beak Gi is shocked to learn that Moon Jiayu is a girl, and Hyo Bong freezes upon hearing this, remembering that he was naked in the room in front of her, and he shouts. Chinmujiam thinks to himself, damn it, why did he have to say those things to her at the demonic academy? Bu Qiaoyang remarks that he never could have imagined that such a beautiful lady would have been donning a mask, but he thinks if he had a granddaughter like her, he would make her do the same. Yajiam Kyung approaches Chinmujiam and remarks that he sure is lucky to be getting to know a beauty like her. Moon Jiayu mentions that seeing young Master Chinmujiam reminded her of what he told her back at the demonic academy. Yajiam Kyung laughs and comments that they are already acquainted, which is even better. Moon Jiayu explains that she kept turning down his offer, so he said that if he ever became the Vice Lord, he'd wipe out her Dark Dragon Palm clan, and she adds, thank goodness he didn't get to become the Vice Lord. He covers his face, and Yajiam Kyung asks what she means. Moon Yon questions if he wants to wipe out his clan. Bu Qiaoyang intervenes, saying he thinks the young master misspoke due to his young age, and he asserts that this can't be excused by saying it's a mistake. Yajiam Kyung asks if he really wants to make a mountain out of a molehill. Moon Yon responds that he sees no reason why he can't. Bu Qiaoyang intervenes, stepping between them and instructing them both to stop, withdrawing their fighting spirits. He acknowledges that he understands how he feels. However, he emphasizes that the words of young Master Chinmujiam hold no gravitas as he was simply an immature cadet at the time. He adds that besides, there are no clans in the cult who would dare to cross the Dark Dragon Palm clan easily. By the way, he heard that Chinmujiam has been searching for a talented doctor for a few years now. He thinks he didn't want to use this if possible since it'd have a use one day. He continues, stating that if his granddaughter and young Master Chinmujiam end up together, he will gift this as the dowry while showing him a badge. Meanwhile, Moon Yon looks at the badge and remarks that it's a medallion that allows one to meet the divine Dr. Bu Qiaoyang responds that as a council elder, he would never lie. Moon Yon asks how he can gift something as valuable as this as a dowry. Bu Qiaoyang explains that he was not able to tell him earlier, but the four main clans have all designated young Master Chinmujiam as the successor of all their clans while extending his hand for a handshake. Moon Jiayu asks if he, as the successor of all four main clans, decides to make him their Vice Lord candidate, and she thinks that he knows that he pledged her loyalty to Vice Lord Chen Yo-woon, but with that medallion, he can treat her intellectual disability. Bu Qiaoyang thinks about him, knowing he wants people to be loyal without asking for anything, but they are offering him what he wishes, and the winner has already been decided. He asks Council Elder Moon Yon if he will allow marriage between his granddaughter and young master Chinmujiam. Moon Jiayu holds Chen Yo-woon's hand and asserts that she already belongs to the Vice Lord. They all become shocked, while Chen Yo-woon also becomes surprised. Hyo Bong wonders when he and she ended up in such a relationship. While she communicates to him through sound telepathy, she apologizes to the young master, and she couldn't think of a way other than this. He thinks that's why she's doing this, while he looks at his jealous face and grabs her, pulling her closer to him. Chin Mujian clenches his hand in anger and curses him, thinking that on top of taking what's his once again, he's laughing at him. Yeon Mu Hwa draws her sword and points it towards Chin Mujian. Ya Kyung shouts how a lowly guard dares like her point her sword at him and asks if she does not know who he is. She responds that he is displaying killing intent towards the Vice Lord. He thinks to himself that he told him to stop being so hot-blooded, and he believes he's currently the only descendant who has all his limbs intact, so he needs to stop this no matter what. Chin Mujiam shouts how she dares point her sword at him and abuses her, attempting to grab her sword with his bare hand, but it cuts his hand, while Jiam Kyung stops him. He thinks about what this is and considers that he can't budge the sword of a mere guard, wondering who she is. He reflects that after Chin Yo-woon claimed the position of Vice Lord and killed Mu Jin-won and a martial artist of the Six-Blade Martial School, the remaining 4 clans felt greatly threatened by him. He thinks that's when the Lord gave them a silver lining and the hope that the Vice Lord could be changed at any time. Ironically, the only reason why Chin Mujiam was selected to be the successor of the 4 clans was because he was the only Vice Lord candidate with all his limbs still intact. He says she must have lost her mind. Bu Cheol-young thinks no. The Vice Lord shredded Mu Jin-won into pieces at the Great Hall simply because he threatened him, and this punk will definitely take advantage of this situation. Bu Cheol-young and Jiam Kyung kneel in front of Chin Yo-woon and say, "Please forgive young master Chin Mujiam's foolish mistake and plead, please show some mercy." Meanwhile, he questions why he should do that and orders them to kill him. Yeon Mu Hwa agrees and attacks him, while Bu Cheol-young intervenes, saying no and runs to save him. He comes between both of them and asks her to stop. She attacks again, and Bu Cheol-young fights with her, thinking that someone with this level of skill is a mere bodyguard and wondering who she is. He moves closer to Chin Mujiam and points his sword at him, asking Bu Cheol-yang to stop. He remarks that it seems his order was taken lightly. Bu Cheol-yang pleads, "Please, Vice Lord," he understands. They'll give up on the marriage. Please stop, while pointing his sword at him. Bu Cheol-yang says they'll do whatever he wants them to do, so please put away his blade. He demands the handover of the medallion that can let one meet the Divine Doctor. Bu Cheol-yang believes that what he was aiming for is to ensure that saving Chin Mujiam takes precedence. He asserts that here it is, expressing hope that he can be merciful as he presents the medallion to him. Chin Yo-woon asserts that politics demands him to discern precisely what the other person desires and to provide it, thereby expecting an equivalent return. Bu Cheol-yang states that he will offer this as the dowry. Jiam Kyung communicates to him through sound telepathy that it's excellent and he has learned something today. He responds that politics dictates understanding precisely what the other person desires and providing it to them in order to receive something equal in return. Chin Yo-woon notes, however, that he still faces a loss with only this medallion. Bu Cheol-yang inquires, what does he mean? While Chin Yo-woon launches an attack on Chin Mujiam, cutting his hand. They are all shocked to witness this, and Bu Cheol-yang speculates that he planned this from the start, knowing that he is their successor. Chin Yo-woon asks if they have a problem. Jiam Kyung declines and expresses gratitude for his consideration while he grabs Chin Mujiam. He believes he has to restrain himself, and when Chin Mujiam displays killing intent toward the Vice Lord, he has the authority to execute him immediately, yet he refrains. He warns that if they push it any further, their own lives could be in danger. He states that Chin Mujiam is not in good condition, and they will head back now, taking him away. He thinks it's not over yet, Vice Lord. After a while, Chin Yo-woon approaches Moon Yeon and expresses his apologies for staining his garden with blood, but he hopes this gesture can be of assistance. Moon Yeon kneels down and presents him with a badge, expressing sincere gratitude for his boundless grace. He accepts the badge, remarking that it's nothing significant, as he has yet to meet the Divine Doctor, and there's no need for such formalities. Moon Yeon asks how he could not express gratitude when he's such a great benefactor to his clan. He reassures him it's all right and requests him to stand up. Moon Yeon contemplates how one man can possess such greatness and warmth, finding it difficult to believe that this is the same man who coldly severed the arm of young Master Chin Mujiam just a while ago. He acknowledges that it appears her judgment of people is better than his to have found such an outstanding husband. He declares, as the leader of the Dark Dragon Palm clan and the 8th Council leader, that from this moment onward, his clan will stand by him until his final breath. He expresses hope that he will accept his loyalty, to which Chin Yo-woon responds that this is what he expected from him. They all sit in the park, enjoying tea. Moon-yeon inquires about the timing of the wedding with his granddaughter. She calls him, and Hyo-bong congratulates him on his upcoming marriage. He wonders how he can explain this situation and considers that Chin Yo-woon and Moon Jae-woo had to invest a lot of time in clarifying the misunderstanding. He reflects that Moon-yeon was unable to conceal his disappointment upon learning the truth, but he didn't let that affect him. Judging by their response, it is clear that the two have a mutual attraction, and he should quietly observe how this situation unfolds. Moon-yeon summons a servant and instructs them to bring Moon-yu. He inquires as to why she is summoning his grandson. Moon-yeon questions how he can conceal things from him after all the assistance he has provided, and he reveals that he has a son named Moon-sung who was deployed to Sichuan province, where he lost his life in an ambush orchestrated by the forces of evil. His pregnant daughter-in-law experienced complications during labor due to the shock of hearing this news. He explains that Moon Jae-woo was fortunately born without any issues, but Moon Yo, his younger twin brother, was born with an intellectual disability as a result of the prolonged delivery. Tragically, his daughter-in-law did not survive. He recounts that he has exhausted every possible avenue to treat his grandson, but regrettably, none have proven successful. He explains that it was at that point he provided his grandson with a renewed sense of hope and expressed gratitude once again. He remarks that they have now brought the young master. Moon Yu chuckles and addresses his grandfather while all the warriors gaze at him with surprise. Hyo-bong realizes that the artificial mask worn by Moon Jae-woo was fashioned after her younger brother. She embraces her brother and inquires about his well-being, while Moon-yeon interjects, urging her to cease her childish behavior and greets the Vice Lord present, acknowledging the significant assistance he has provided. Chin Yo-woon contemplates why Council Elder Moon-yeon regards the Divine Doctor as his sole hope and queries Nano Machine about the possibility of treating Moon-yu. Nano Machine begins searching through its database and reports that it has found 24,201,023 similar cases. It further advises that for a more precise assessment, both of Moon-yu's palms should be placed on the patient's head. Chin Yo-woon asks if he can examine his grandson. Nano Machine responds affirmatively, instructing him to proceed. Chin Yo-woon places his hand on Moon-yu's head and initiates a scan. Nano Machine announces the initiation of magnetic resonance imaging MRI using the user's hands and displays the scan in the user's field of vision. It notes that the flow of blood is restricted at the points marked in red as Chin Yo-woon observes his grandson's brain scan. Nano Machine states that, based on the analysis of past medical cases, there is an issue with the distribution of oxygen due to the delayed blood flow in this patient. It suggests that this likely resulted in damage to brain cells, thus hindering cerebral functions. He inquires if the issue can be resolved, to which Nano Machine responds affirmatively, explaining that by eliminating the accumulation of dead brain cells, restoring blood flow, and utilizing electrotherapy to generate new brain cells, the disability can be addressed. He ponders whether he should initiate electrotherapy, recognizing that if there's a chance of treatment, he must attempt it. Nano Machine instructs him to place his fingers on the red spots indicated. Following the instructions, he does so and prepares himself, noting that there might be some discomfort as he activates his Kai powers. Moon-yeon is shocked to see this and asks what it means, then rushes towards him. However, Yeon-mu Hwa intervenes and blocks his path. He demands that she move aside immediately. She pleads with him to trust the Vice Lord. He questions how she can say that when his grandson might be on the verge of death. Meanwhile, Moon-yu falls to the ground, his nose bleeding. Moon-yeon quickly grabs him and asks what he has done, then inquires if Moon-yu is okay. Moon-yu responds that it hurts and he has a severe headache, but he can speak fluently. Moon-yeon wonders how this could be happening and finds it hard to believe that Moon-yu's eyes have refocused, resembling those of a normal human. Hyo-bong remarks on the extraordinary abilities of his liege, praising him, while Baek-gi reflects on how he had suspected the Vice Lord possessed medical knowledge when he treated him for the micro-poison, but now realizes he is truly a remarkable individual beyond comparison. 2 hours later, Chin Yo-woon gazes at the medallion and contemplates whether he can treat him, realizing that he may no longer need the medallion if he can. Moon-yeon suggests that he keep the medallion and utilize it for a better purpose. Regarding Moon Yu, he proposes having him stay in the Flying Phantom Clan's guest house for the time being, as it would be more convenient for regular treatment. Moon Yon trusts that his grandchildren will be in good hands under Chin Yo-woon's care. Reflecting on her declaration that she already belongs to the Vice Lord, Chin Yo-woon wonders about the emotions he is experiencing and questions whether Moon Jae-yu is simply a loyal subordinate to him. The scene shifts to the Flying Phantom Clan's guest house at 6 p.m. where Hwan Yui welcomes him and inquires if everything went well. She wonders if the person next to Council Elder Hwan Yui is the agent pretending to be Council Elder Yon. Hwan Yui communicates to Moon Jae-yu through sound telepathy, remarking that her nephew has finally revealed her true identity and commenting on his too pretty face to be concealed. Moon Jae-yu responds, asking her not to tease her. Hwan Yui congratulates him and mentions that the assistance of the Dark Dragon Palm Clan will be valuable to him. He acknowledges their luck in having Moon Jae-yu and asks about the progress of the matters she was attending to. She apologizes and explains that Council Elder Sama and he did go to the hallucinatory Sword Clan, but they were unable to meet with them as there was already a guest present. He inquires about the identity of the other guest and wonders if it could possibly be from the Sword Clan or the Sound Clan. She asks how he knew. He realizes he has a suspicion and questions why she is present. She begins to explain, but he interrupts, requesting Council Elder Yon to introduce himself. Yon greets him, stating he is Council Elder Yon, number 24. Chin Yo-woon recalls the introduction at the Hazy Demon Sword Clan's manor and asks if it was from the Sword Clan. Yon Mu Hwa asks if it is from the Sword Clan. Council Elder Yon responds that it was not. The scene shifts 2 hours later to the main study of the Hazy Demon Sword Clan. He contacts Yon Mu Hwa through sound telepathy, advising her not to try to locate him and to act as usual. He reflects that the situation has changed and the promised date will be moved up by 10 days. He explains that the sound telepathy abruptly ended, and despite his efforts to trace it, he found no leads. He came to inform Council Elder Yon because this situation exceeds his capabilities. Chin Yo-woon inquires about no name, prompting Council Elder Yon to call him. She remarks that if the schedule has been moved up 10 days, it means today, expressing surprise as such an occurrence has never happened before. He responds that something must have triggered it, expressing anticipation for the meeting. At midnight on Ohian Peak, Shiwon Mountain, Yon Mu Hwa arrives and surveys the area. Leader of the Sword Clan Kyon Bon-gi acknowledges his presence, noting that he had initially expected all 3 of them to be there, but now only the 2 of them remain, implying that progress has been made. Council Elder Yon asserts that she refuses to engage in conversation with someone exhibiting the shameless behavior of a traitor. Kyon Bon-gi remarks that she remains unchanged. He reflects that even if she acts in such a manner, it doesn't alter the situation. He believes that the final teachings of the Sword Demon will ultimately belong to his Sword Clan, and if he is not mistaken, he is that person. He expresses respect for both of them, showing up despite having to change the meeting time. He considers that despite becoming a true Grandmaster, she still cannot comprehend this person's martial proficiency, and based on their actions, it seems they are already aware of Mu Jin-won's death, leaving him to ponder the identity of this individual. No Name states that he will get straight to the point and asks for the meaning behind this encounter. Kyon Bon-gi introduces himself as the leader of the Sword Clan and the second council elder of the cult, offering his greetings to the Great Lord. Kyon Bon-gi reflects on the sword technique used 3 years ago, noting its striking similarity to the heavenly daimonic sword technique employed by the Lord on the battlefield. He concludes that the only individual capable of infiltrating the cult so effortlessly and possessing knowledge of his clan's secrets is the Lord of the cult. The masked man interjects, suggesting that Kyon Bon-gi may be mistaken, then hears a voice and inquires about its source. Kyon Bon-gi questions what he means. The masked man demands to know which of them broke their promise and brandishes his sword, while Kyon Bon-gi insists that there is no way. At that moment, Chin Yo-woon arrives, surprised that his kai, which he thought was completely concealed, has been detected. Kyon Bon-gi turns to Council Elder Yon, asking if she is responsible for this. She responds that she does not understand what he means. Meanwhile, Kyon Bon-gi asserts that he is not responsible for the current situation and emphasizes that he has upheld his promise, pleading to be allowed to inherit the teachings of the Sword Demon as he kneels before the masked man. The masked man responds that it is too late, as the moment one of them broke the promise, everything was over, indicating that they and the 24 demon swords were not meant to be. He begins to leave, ignoring Kyung Bon-gi's plea to wait. Despite this, Kyung Bon-gi calls out to him from behind, asking him to reconsider, but to no avail. Kyung Bon-gi then turned to Council Elder Yeon, declaring that he would not let her go, and moved to attack her. She recognizes that he is finally revealing his true intentions and retaliates. He reflects on how the lady has become so strong and realizes that they are both determined to defeat each other. On the other side, Jin Yo-woon positions himself behind the masked man, attempting to catch him. He realizes that he can't keep up and understands that if he truly wants to apprehend him, he'll have to take a risk. He summons Nano Machine, and it comprehends his request, activating night vision and augmented reality. Using this technology, he swiftly locates the masked man's position and leaps towards him. The masked man reflects on the fact that he was not able to pass on the entirety of the 24 demon swords, but he dismisses it, noting that there is already a new inheritor for them. Jin Yo-woon launches an attack, but the masked man quickly blocks it. Nano Machine responds by regenerating torn muscles and cracked bones. He realizes that he will never attempt such a feat again, as the power he faced was comparable to the 1,000-pound amplification technique. He wonders if such a thing could really happen. The masked man asks if he jumped at him from that height, and Jin Yo-woon realizes that he has indeed guessed correctly. He leaps from the mountain, attacking each other as they strive for victory. Jin Yo-woon decides that it's time to uncover the masked man's identity. The masked man responds by acknowledging Jin Yo-woon's boldness, but insists that it changes nothing as he charges forward to attack. He contemplates the 24 demon swords, recognizing that, unlike Council Elder Yeon, this technique is complete and even more powerful than his own. He understands that he must use his full power and unleashes his full Kai powers against the masked man. The masked man wonders if this is the blade technique of the blade god, while Nano Machine reports that his internal organs have sustained damage from the energy piercing into his body and activating regeneration. The masked man observes that not only does Jin Yo-woon have less Kai than him, but he should also be wounded from the fall just now. However, because the blade technique of the blade god is superior to the 24 demon swords, the fight drags on. The masked man realizes that in that case, he can't give Jin Yo-woon any opportunity to escape, so they both continue to attack each other. Jin Yo-woon employs the blade god's blade technique and the third technique, repeatedly attacking the masked man. Jin Yo-woon notices his attack and recognizes it as sword kinesis and the second technique of the heavenly demonic sword art, albeit at half strength due to imperfect Kai control. The masked man advances closer and stabs him. Jin Yo-woon quickly steps back, impressed by the strength of the martial artist who had been hiding within the cult. Nano Machine begins healing the sword wound, prompting Jin Yo-woon to ponder whether this person is truly the lord of the cult. The masked man remarks that there is undoubtedly a gap in skill level between them and advises Jin Yo-woon not to pursue him any further. However, the masked man observes a persistent determination in his eyes, realizing he has no choice but to continue. With powerful Kai powers, the masked man emits a strong killing intent, warning Jin Yo-woon that this time the confrontation won't end with just a shoulder wound. As the masked man throws his sword towards him, Jin Yo-woon realizes he won't be able to block this technique. Meanwhile, Jin Yo-woon employs the heavenly demonic sword art technique and sword kinesis to attack the masked man. He strikes from all sides, recognizing the power of the fourth technique of the heavenly demonic sword art. He realizes that at this rate, it could spell the end for him. As he summons his demonic sword, the masked man observes it and recognizes it as the blade god's sword technique. Jin Yo-woon utilizes the right blade god's blade technique and the left heavenly demonic sword art's fourth technique. He charges at the masked man with the ferocity of a monster, launching relentless attacks. The masked man is astounded by how this is possible as he defends against the onslaught and ultimately captures him completely. He reflects that Jin Yo-woon is truly a monster, realizing he had underestimated him. He contemplates the difference between a true grandmaster and an inept, enlightened grandmaster, recognizing it as a massive gap. Despite this, Jin Yo-woon managed to perform both the blade god's techniques and the heavenly demonic sword art, two ultimate martial arts, by modifying Mu Jin-won's technique into the right blade left sword, turning the tables on him. He wonders if his sword is the heavenly demonic sword and removes his mask. Qin Yo-woon stares at him and asks for his identity. He responds that he will neither fight nor run anymore, requesting him to put away his blade. He realizes that the voice belongs to Grand Guardian Mericium and concludes that the person in front of him isn't the Lord. He must have been concealing his voice the entire time. After a while, he asks Mericium if he is going to explain everything. Mericium replies that he has something he needs to tell him first. They both sense something and look in that direction. Qin Yo-woon wonders about the powerful energy he is sensing up there and realizes that Council Elder Yon is in danger. The scene shifts to the top of Oh-Hyeon Peak, where she fights with Kyung-bon-gae and is badly injured. He laughs, likening himself to a rat up a drainpipe, but wonders how long he can keep dodging. She berates him and runs to attack him. She observes his speed despite his size and notes that, fortunately, he lacks finesse. She questions if he really thinks she'll be okay after using the demonic blood reversal technique. He laughs at her and boasts that his divine blood reversal substitution art is on a completely different level than that incomplete demonic technique, as his clan successfully eliminated the side effects of the original. She considers that the demonic blood reversal technique is supposed to make one lose their mind and destroy their meridians with use, but she can't sense any of that in him. She reflects that if they did indeed eliminate the side effects, then the most dangerous people in the clan are them. However, she doubts this conclusion, reasoning that if there were no more side effects, there would be no reason for the Sword Clan to hide this technique. She speculates that they haven't revealed it, because there is still a problem with it. Kyung-bon-gae attempts to grab her, declaring that her life is over and demanding she die. She refuses and runs to attack him, but he stops suddenly, causing her to question how this can be happening as his sword breaks. Kyung-bon-gae laughs and remarks that it tickled, asking if she is done with her futile resistance and stating that he'll kill her in one shot. She gazes at him as Qin Yo-woon arrives just in time, expressing relief that he isn't too late. Kyung-bon-gae asks if he dares to get in his way once again, growing angry, but Qin Yo-woon blocks his attack and remarks on the laughable seriousness of his question. Kyung-bon-gae questions Qin Yo-woon's arrogance, asking if he really thinks he can stop him in his current form, and launches an attack. He steps back, feeling as though he's fighting a beast rather than a person, pondering if it is the demonic blood reversal technique at work. Kyung-bon-gae declares his intention to kill him right now and be rid of him for good, while Qin Yo-woon utilizes the true demon sword and the second technique. He counterattacks with his Kai. Meanwhile, he observes that his Kai manifestation is massive, realizing he can't escape it. He uses the Blade God's blade technique to block Kyung-bon-gae's attack, noting that even the White Dragon blade can't wound him. Kyung-bon-gae scoffs, asserting that Qin Yo-woon will never even scratch him with that, then launches another attack, declaring that it's over now. Mericium arrives and joins the fray, attacking him and throwing him away. Qin Yo-woon is alarmed by Mericium's monstrous form, wondering if the second council elder performed the demonic blood reversal technique. He realizes that this situation is dire, as the Vice Lord should be low on Kai from their battle. Kyung-bon-gae laughs, remarking that he didn't amount to much in the end. However, he notices something and feels a spine-chilling demonic aura. Qin Yo-woon rushes towards him to attack, utilizing his demonic powers. Kyung-bon-gae responds, stating that Qin Yo-woon will never defeat him with petty tricks and will also utilize all of his powers. Qin Yo-woon challenges him to try to block this attack too, then proceeds to attack him with his demonic sword. Kyung-bon-gae attempts to block the attack with all his powers, realizing he needs to block it, but he is unable to do so and is badly stabbed, bleeding profusely. He questions how this can happen as he examines his wounds and collapses to the ground. He also breathes heavily as he looks at him, then turns his gaze to Grand Guardian Mericium, who bows down and declares himself to be Grand Guardian Mericium of the great heavenly demonic cult, bowing before the new heavenly demon. Qin Yo-woon wonders what he could possibly mean. Yeon-mu Hwa states that this man is the Grand Guardian. Mericium confirms that it is as he has said. He is showing his respect to the new heavenly demon. She finds it hard to believe that the person they have been meeting all this time is the Grand Guardian and asks what he is talking about and what he means. She observes Qin Yo-woon's sword, upon which the heavenly demonic sword is written. She is shocked and asks about the heavenly demonic sword. She also bowed down and stated that she, as the 10th Council Elder Yeon-mu Hwa of the great heavenly demonic cult, bowed down to the new heavenly demon. Chin Yo-woon asks why the two of them are doing this. She responds that it is because he is the true heavenly demon. He inquires about the true heavenly demon. She explains that on the north side of the castle, there is a shrine honoring the ancestral tablets of former lords, and within that shrine lies an altar holding the founder's ancestral tablet and his will. She also mentions that at the shrine, there is an epitaph left behind by the heavenly demonic founder before ascending. The epitaph states that the one who obtains the true heavenly demonic sword shall inherit his title, and it is inscribed with a heavenly demon's order that even the Lord cannot disobey. He remarks that not a single word since the founder has managed to inherit the title of a heavenly demon. The heavenly demonic sword that has been passed down to the current Lord is a mere counterfeit. She asserts that this is a fact known to all the council elders. Chin Yo-woon remarks, "That's strange. If the Lord was the only one who knew the truth behind his sword, he would have been able to cover up the heavenly demon's order." He asks why the council elders have kept it a secret while being aware of the truth. She responds that she does not know why the Lord did not keep it a secret, but the reason why the council elders have remained silent is due to a tale that has been passed down for generations, and the rumor that the true heavenly demonic sword was robbed 500 years ago during the Blade God incident. She explains that as it is an embarrassing part of the cult's history, the Lord and the council elders have kept it under wraps. He thinks it must have been a counterfeit from the start, since the real sword was hidden in the sealed demon cave. Mercenary interjects, saying that Council Elder Yon is partially right, but he believes he should chime in to provide some additional information. He explains that the reason why the Lord has remained quiet about the heavenly demonic sword is because of the guardians of the heavenly demon's order. He elaborates that they are people who have worked to ensure that the Lord they serve does not defy the heavenly demon's order. Because they have inherited a martial art passed down directly by the heavenly demonic founder, their skills rival those of the Lord himself. Having operated in the Lord's shadow all this time, not many cultists are aware of their secret role. He then presents the Grand Guardian badge to him. Chin Yo-woon asks if that means the heavenly demon's order. He displays the heavenly demon's order and confirms that Chin Yo-woon is correct. He is the guardian of the heavenly demon's order and the secret role of the Grand Guardians. He explains that this medallion was personally created by the heavenly demonic founder. Chin Yo-woon acknowledges and asks if the Grand Guardian, as the guardian of the heavenly demon's order, even if it is a role passed down by the founder himself, would not be considered a potential threat by the Lord. Manhaw explains that the heavenly demonic founder placed a restriction on the guardians through the usage of a special poison parasite. He describes the poison parasite as an insect that lives within the subject's body. This parasite is controlled by an insect called the command bug, and when Kai is inserted into the command bug, the poison parasite will rampage, killing the host by injecting poison throughout their body. He mentions that there is a poison parasite in his heart and Danshin, and only their clan knows how to use the poison parasite to create the command bug. Consequently, when a new lord ascends, they offer them a command bug as a sign of loyalty. Because of this, if they were ever to harm a lord, they would perish. He reflects on the existence of such a secret, leading to a strange relationship between the Lord and the Grand Guardians, where they are each kept in check by the poison parasite and the heavenly demon's order. He explains that the heavenly demonic founder said he had sealed a demon within their cult and prophesied that one who was worthy would obtain the heavenly demonic sword. He mentions that his guardian clan waited for hundreds of years, but no one managed to find the sword, nor did anyone learn the heavenly demonic sword art. He emphasizes that they, the guardians of the heavenly demon's order, only serve the current heavenly demon as their true lord. He then requests Chin Yo-woon to bless him with the heavenly demonic energy. Chin Yo-woon inquires about heavenly demonic energy, showing his sword covered with aura, and asks if he means this. He confirms that Chin Yo-woon is correct. The command bug was a temporary measure created because there was no inheritor of the heavenly demonic sword, and the true master of the poison parasite is the heavenly demon. He pleads for Chin Yo-woon to use the heavenly demonic energy to undo his seal and take him under his wings. Chin Yo-woon places his sword on his head, and a magical aura covers his body all around. Manhaw feels a parasite covering his heart. He feels better and declares his loyalty to the new heavenly demon as the Grand Guardian and guardian of the heavenly demon's order. Chin Yo-woon ponders on the Grand Guardian swearing his loyalty to him and wonders if that means he has recruited all the Guardian clans. Yeonmu Hwa remarks that the Grand Guardian swearing his loyalty is all fine and dandy, but he still has more explaining to do. Marakium acknowledges this, stating it is only right that he tells him everything. He explains that 25 years ago, the previous lord suddenly stepped down from his position. Afterwards, he immediately went into seclusion for training, and when he left 5 years later, he was far stronger than before he entered seclusion. Marakium adds that he actually met the previous lord the day before he went missing. She asks why he has not said a word until now. He responds that he was ordered into secrecy, and he also never told him where he was headed. The scene shifts to 20 years ago at Marakium's residence, where Lord Chenin-Jai stands near the window, and Marakium kneels down behind him. He instructs Marakium that he must not tell anyone, including the Lord, what he is about to reveal and asks if he understands. Marakium affirms his understanding, stating it is his order. He further explains that he is sure Marakium is aware of the existence of the true demon sword and the 24 demon swords located beneath the precious library in the demonic academy. Marakium confirms this knowledge. He then informs him that he will be leaving somewhere soon, and if he is not back within 10 years, he should not be swayed by the sword demon's will. Instead, he should pass on the sword demon's martial art to those connected to the demon's word clan. He hands him a letter and instructs him to take it. Marakium inquires about its contents. He assures Marakium that he will understand once he sees it. Marakium reads the paper. He explains that he developed it for 5 years during his seclusion training, but it's still only at a level where the technique can be performed incompletely. He urges Marakium to continue developing it further while he is away, completing the heavenly demonic sword for him. Marakium questions how he could possibly complete something that even he could not. He acknowledges that it's a challenging request, but expresses his trust in Marakium to handle it. The scene shifts back to the present. Marakium explains that he tried to recreate the technique for 8 years, but he could not even figure out the Kai control method. The best he could do was use it with sword kinesis. Additionally, the previous lord did not return even after 10 years. After that, the events unfolded, as Council Elder Yon said. Qin Yo-woon expresses his confusion and asks why the previous lord did not pass on the heavenly demonic sword art to the current lord himself. He admits that he doesn't understand that either, but he notes that the previous lord was unhappy about the current lord back then. Qin Yo-woon is taken aback and asks for clarification. Yeon-mu Hwa mentions that he has heard about that as well. The public opinion at the time was that the previous lord was going to appoint Qin Yu-a from the Spring clan as the vice lord. However, the current lord, who is from the Sword clan, eliminated most of the other candidates after leaving the demonic academy. He even severed the right arm of his brother, Qin Yu-jung, earning a reputation for being cold and ruthless. There was a significant uproar at the time when the previous lord suddenly appointed Lord Qin Yu-jong as the lord, along with a warning that the previous lord left before leaving. Qin Yo-woon inquires about the warning. Marakium explains that he said if he truly did not return in 10 years, a great danger might befall the cult. Qin Yo-woon asks if it could be that he already knows of the Six-Blade Martial School's existence. He speculates that it seems to be the case, as he only arrived at the conclusion himself after witnessing their incredible martial prowess firsthand. Qin Yo-woon then considers that the disappearance of the previous lord is probably related to the Six-Blade Martial School. Yeon-mu Hwa inquires about the reason he had postponed their meeting. Marakium responds that would be the case and looks at Qin Yo-woon. Qin Yo-woon wonders why he is looking at him. After a while, within the inner castle of the heavenly demonic cult lord's manor, at the lord's office, a direct subordinate of the lord, captain of the manor guards Pi Hyan, kneels down in front of Lord Chen Yu-jong. He reports that they lost track of the Grand Guardian after he left the west side of the castle, and they are currently searching the area, but it is difficult with just the manor guards. Lord Chen Yu-jong asks about the other two. Pi Hyan informs him that he received a message from the one keeping an eye on the Flying Phantom clan that the Vice Lord has yet to return, and the same goes for Council Elder Yeon-mu Hwa of the Hazy Demon Sword clan. He comments that things have come to this again. Yu-jung also joins them and states that he told him he is no longer a pawn they can use. He asks if it was not his philosophy to never treat a pawn as anything more than a pawn. He asserts that he needs to take care of this before the conflict grows any bigger and guarantees that Kyon Bon-gi won't be able to return alive. He adds that if he has been observing his moves, he should know that too. Qin Yu-jong responds that he no longer has any value as a pawn. He explains that when he cuts off a rotting wound, the rest heal as normal. Chen Yuzhong declares that they will first cut off his arms and legs. Yu Jung approves, calling it a wise choice. Chen Yuzhong summons Pi Haiyan and announces that he will be invoking the Lord's order to arrest and jail Li Hwa Myon and Xiab Meng right away. He reflects that before the break of day, Qin Yo-woon and the gang had buried Kyung Bon-gi's body far from Ohyun Peak so that no one could find it. He notes that Qin Yo-woon managed to recover his Kai quickly with Kai meditation, but as both the Grand Guardian and Yeonmu Hwa had internal injuries, Qin Yo-woon had to stand guard while they recovered. He concludes that in the end, Qin Yo-woon only managed to return to the cult at around noon. Meanwhile, Qin Yo-woon arrives, sees a guard in front of him, and thinks something strange. The guards are more on edge than yesterday. He shows them his medal. They greet him as the Vice Lord of the great heavenly demonic cult. Both guards exchange glances. Qin Yo-woon instructs them to switch to telepathy eavesdropping mode. The nanomachine confirms that it understands. One guard tells the other to return and send a message to the Lord's manor immediately. The other guard acknowledges with a yes. Chen Yo-woon reflects that he knew the Lord had been observing his every move lately, but this must be the beginning of the omen the Grand Guardian had told him about. Meanwhile, Pi Haiyan escorts Mericium to the Lord, stands outside the door, and announces that they have brought the Grand Guardian. Chen Yuzhong instructs them to let him in. Mericium kneels down in front of the Lord. The Lord asks how his late-night trip was. Mericium apologizes for worrying him and gets right to the point, stating that the second council elder, Kyung Bon-gi, left the castle last night, and his whereabouts are unknown. Mericium tries to say something further. The Lord interrupts, stating that he has not finished speaking, and adds that not only that, but the Vice Lord, as well as Council Elder Yeonmu Hwa, also left the castle last night. Mericium thinks to himself, cursing the situation, realizing that he was not the only one being kept tabs on by the manor guards, and to think that even the Vice Lord was also being watched. He states that taking the Vice Lord's actions thus far into consideration, the only logical conclusion he can come up with is that something must have happened to the well-being of the second council elder. He questions whether the Vice Lord baited the second council elder outside the castle and murdered him, considering it would be crossing the line due to personal grudges. Mericium considers if this was the Vice Lord's intention, and if he wanted an excuse to pressure the new heavenly demon, asserting that it had nothing to do with the Vice Lord's personal feelings. He asks what else it could be. Mericium decides he has no choice. He will have to tell the truth while omitting things that might harm the new heavenly demon, and he assures that he will tell him. After a while, Mericium explains that his body grew too large for him to carry due to the demonic blood reversal technique, and that's when he decided to come back to report things to him so his body could be transported back to the cult. Qin Yuzhong agrees and decides to assign some manor guards to him to bring back the body of the second council elder. Mericium acknowledges with a yes. Yu Jung remarks that this confirms Mericium is also in support of him, implying that things won't be able to go as planned. Qin Yuzhong responds that he has no choice but to stick with the plan and retrieves a key from his pocket. He opens a drawer containing a small box and takes it out. Upon opening the box, he retrieves a bug and identifies it as the command bug. He explains that he obtained it 25 years ago when he swore his loyalty to him but didn't ingest it immediately. Instead, he gave it to the demonic doctor, who has recently made significant progress in its analysis. He consumes the bug, stating that he now has no choice but to follow his command. Meanwhile, at the Flying Phantom Clan guest house, Hwan Yui reports that the left and right guardians were both jailed. Beak Gi has been assigned as the vice leader of the Northern Flash Brigade, a brigade under the command of the Spring Clan, while Go Wang Hul has been assigned as the vice leader of the Demon Armor Brigade, a brigade under the command of the Sword Clan. Chen Yo-woon observes that they have all been placed under the command of the remaining 4 main clans. She adds that they were taken to the Lord's Manor early in the morning. Hyobong explains that their reasoning was to assign those with brigade leader qualifications a position, but he managed to avoid that fate. She reflects that he was left out because they did not see him as a threat. She explains that it was not just the 2 guardians and his brigade leaders. Council Elder Sama Yui was also sent away to audit the Hunan Province branch, and Sir Moon Yon was ordered to form a defensive line with the northeastern Jiangxi Province branch in preparation for a war against the Six-Blade Martial School. Yeonmu Hwa asks if she is assuming she has orders as well. H1 Yui responds that seeing how the warriors of the Lord's Manor have been searching for him, that's a safe assumption. However, because he came back wearing his mask, they probably think she has not returned to the castle yet. Hyobong questions how the Lord can do this, stating that he's basically isolating their liege. H1 Yui remarks, thankfully, and he managed to be excluded as he did. She expresses her belief that it was for different reasons. She reflects that she is praying that this is not an attempt to go after the Vice Lord directly. Hyobong asks if something is wrong or if something happened. She responds that it seems that it's a bit too late to try something. Just then, a servant approaches H1 Yui. She inquires about the matter. He explains that currently, outside their manor, the leader of the Negative Sword Brigade and an envoy from the Lord's Manor have gathered. She asks about the Negative Sword Brigade. Chin Yo-woon questions which brigade would cause her to be so shocked right now. She elaborates that the Negative Sword Brigade is one run by the Negative Sword Clan, one of the two Shadow Sword clans controlled by the Sword Clan. He reflects that the two Shadow Sword clans are collectively known as the Hidden Power of the Sword Clan, comprised of the Sword Warrior Clan and the Negative Sword Clan. However, 3 years ago, their entire clan was disbanded after being linked to the incident of a prisoner using the demonic blood reversal technique during an academy test. He reflects that now that only the Negative Sword Clan is left, they are simply referred to as the Shadow Sword Clan. She remarks that they'd make a move this quickly, and they are in a bind now. He stands up to leave, and everyone sees him. Chin Yo-woon emerges, breathing heavily, and reflects that his only resentment towards him is that he let his mother die. He never expected to clash with him like this, and this must be fate. Hyobong also follows him and calls out to him. He addresses Elder H1 Yui, and she responds affirmatively. He asks if the thing he asked her for before is ready, and she confirms that it is. Meanwhile, P. Hyan arrives, holding the leader of the Negative Sword Brigade, Ju Jiam. Ju Jiam expresses certainty that they will come out soon. He reflects that they are stalling quite a bit, but they do not seem to be trying to gather their forces either. Just then, Chin Yo-woon emerges. All the people were present outside to greet him. They exchange greetings. H1 Yui remarks that she can't for the life of her figure out why all these warriors are surrounding his clan's manor. Ju Jiam apologizes if they felt threatened, addressing Council Elder H1 Yui, and requests her not to misunderstand. His brigade is not there to torment the Flying Phantom clan. P. Hyan holds a scroll and states, "Please take this order from the Lord." Chin Yo-woon kneels down and accepts the order from the Lord, stating that he, Vice Lord Chin Yo-woon, accepts the order from the Lord. He opens the scroll and announces that he hereby commands the Vice Lord. They have received an urgent message stating that the forces of the Six Blade Martial School are headed from Zhejiang Province to northern Fujian Province. He will assign a brigade to him, and he is to take them and gather the branches in northern Fujian to stop the enemies. He rolls back the scroll and emphasizes that this is an urgent matter. Since he has been given a direct order from the Lord, he must depart immediately with the Negative Sword Brigade. He reflects that the Lord wants to take care of him outside the cult. Hyobong suggests that he shall go with them. He responds that this is an order from the Lord and asks who he thinks he is to butt in. He explains that the Lord ordered the Vice Lord to depart only with the brigade. Yeonma Hwa reflects on the necessity of knowingly walking into a trap. She understands that the Vice Lord is a threat to his rule and authority, but attempting to kill his own son like this is extreme. P. Hyan interjects, stating that now they must depart. After a while, at the heavenly demonic cult's inner castle near the morgue, Marakiam moves with some soldiers holding a cart. He reflects that the mood got weird while he went to retrieve the body, and he can feel something strange from the few warriors and servants wandering the inner castle. A soldier suggests that since they have to show it to the Lord, they will first clean the body. Marakiam agrees and instructs them to proceed. As he turns to move, he suddenly sees P. Hyan's hand in front of him, blocking his way. P. Hyan informs him that it's the crematorium. He explains that this is an order from the Lord, so Marakiam shouldn't involve himself with the body anymore. P. Hyan further adds that now he has more important things to worry about as the Lord ordered them to bring him to the Great Hall as soon as he returned. Marakiam realizes that the Grand Hall is only used for meetings. P. Hyan confirms that the Grand Hall meeting started 15 minutes ago, so he will have to hurry. Marakiam asks what the meeting is about. P. Hyan reveals that it's in regard to the Vice Lord's dethronement. Merikium decides to excuse himself, and P. Hyan comments that he's definitely sided with the Vice Lord. However, he adds that the Vice Lord Merikium is looking for will not be present. Merikium comes to meet Lord Chen Yuzhong, sees him, and thinks, darn it, despite it being a meeting to discuss the Vice Lord's dethronement, the man in question is nowhere to be seen. And why is only Council Elder H1 here, among all his supporters? Chen Yuzhong instructs him to go to the center. Merikium acknowledges it as his order and moves to stand in the center. Chen Yuzhong states that he shall ask him a question, and he only has to repeat exactly what he told him earlier. Merikium confirms with a yes. Chen Yuzhong then asks if it is true that he witnessed Vice Lord Chen Yo-woon ambush and murder the second council elder, Kyun Bangi. He calls to him with telepathy and instructs him to only tell the answer he wishes to hear. He warns that if he does not comply, the poison parasite inside his body will rampage. He reiterates the question, asking if it is true that the Vice Lord ambushed and killed the second council elder. Merikium responds that the Vice Lord did not ambush the second council elder. Chen Yuzhong realizes he has no choice and attempts to activate the parasite in his heart. Merikium continues, saying that the Vice Lord did not just murder the council elder unprompted. Chen Yuzhong wonders why there is no response. Merikium adds that the second council elder used. Before he could complete his sentence, Chen Yuzhong moved to attack him, but H1 Yui intervened and stopped his attack. He is shocked to see her. Merikium explains that it was the demonic blood reversal technique that caused him to rampage, which is why the Vice Lord had to defeat him. Chen Yuzhong demands to know how she dares to go against him, asserting that he is not Council Elder H1. He moves to attack her. She removes her mask, revealing herself to be Chen Yo-woon. Everyone is shocked at the revelation. Chen Yuzhong exclaims in disbelief, questioning how he could be there. Chen Yo-woon responds that he has come to inherit the position of the Lord. The scene shifts to the other side, where Chen Yo-woon rides on horseback with his caravan. Ju Jiam communicates telepathically to the brigade leader that they are now about 75 kilometers away from the cult, and he thinks this is far enough. Chen Yo-woon overhears him. Suddenly, Ju Jiam moves to attack with his sword. Chen Yo-woon demands to know what he thinks he is doing. Ju Jiam responded that this place would mark his grave. The brigade leader commands him to kill him. Chen Yo-woon observes that he was wondering when they were going to bare their fangs and quickly moves back to save himself from the attack. He counterattacks, cutting off their heads, and moves forward. Ju Jiam asks if he is going to resist. The fake Chen Yo-woon removes his mask and says, unfortunately not. He is shocked to see H1 Yui in place of Chen Yo-woon. She clarifies that she is not the Vice Lord and mentions she almost ended up removing both of her masks. He asks if she was pretending to be the Vice Lord from the very start. She teases him. He questions how she dares to oppose the Lord's orders. She counters, asking what he means by oppose, pointing out that the Lord's order stated that the Vice Lord was to depart, with no mention of a death warrant. He commands to catch the traitor right away, declaring they are returning to the cult. They acknowledge his order. She remarks that he is quite confident, but wonders if he really thinks he can catch her. He questions if she thinks they came ill-prepared to fight a Grandmaster. They all move to attack. She notes that this is outside her expectations. Meanwhile, in the grand hall of the inner castle of the heavenly demonic cult, council members whisper to each other, speculating that it's the Vice Lord. Others whisper back, expressing their certainty that it was Council Elder H1's Vice. The Nano machine notifies about reverting the user's voice to normal. Chen Yo-woon clears his throat. Chen Yuzhong thinks he has learned trickery and remarks how insolent it is that he violated his orders and came to the Great Hall disguised. He asks if he is truly attempting a coup. Chen Yo-woon says he should let him ask a question first and inquires why he is trying to dethrone him from the position of Vice Lord by framing him for ambushing and murdering the second Council Elder. He orders the Grand Guardian to restrain Vice Lord Chen Yo-woon immediately. Merikium says he cannot do that. Chen Yuzhong gets angry and states that Grand Guardian Merikium is following not him but the Vice Lord, questioning how they can trust the validity of his testimony. He acknowledges the Grand Guardian's devotion to protecting the Vice Lord, but emphasizes that one must pay the price when one commits a wrong deed. He signals and some soldiers arrive, ordering them to arrest the Vice Lord and the Grand Guardian immediately. They comply with the order. Suddenly, some noise from outside the door grabs everyone's attention. A man insists no, she can't stop right there. Yeonmu Hwa orders them to move aside and asks why they, the guys, are not servants. He commands them to go ahead. She explodes the door, enters the room, and apologizes for her late attendance, explaining that there was a very important piece of evidence, as they can see. She uses her power and throws the lifeless body of the second council elder, Kyun Ban-gi, into the room. A council member exclaims, "Demonic blood reversal, that's undoubtedly the blood reversal technique." Another asks if the Grand Guardian was telling the truth, and if the second council elder learned the demonic blood reversal technique. Chen Yujong thinks Pi Hyun is a useless rascal. He told him not to allow anyone inside the crematorium, and now Yeonmu Hwa managed to steal the body. Suddenly, Ho Sang Hwa arrives with others and attacks the soldier. The soldier wonders how this is possible. The Vice Lord's faction should have been scattered. Chen Yujong sees her and wonders who these guys are. Chen Yo-woon thinks it's perfect timing and tells Hyo Bong that this is part of his faction that he had no knowledge of. The Demonic Academy might have been suspended with the arrest of the left guardian, but the subordinates he left behind should have been unaffected. Ho Sang Hwa declares that no one is allowed to get past here. The scene shifts approximately 40 kilometers north of the heavenly demonic cult. Hwan Yui attacks Ju Jiam's soldiers, inflicting severe casualties, and moves forward. Ju Jiam follows her and commands her to stop right there. She turns back to see him and thinks that facing this many demonic blood reversal users is too much for her to handle. He laughs and tells her she sounds out of breath, stating there's no use in running. She stops upon noticing a caravan approaching her. She sees the flags of the Blade clan and the Sound clan. She exhales and acknowledges that she was not expecting this. She realizes that this seems to be the end of her rope, but expresses contentment that she was at least somewhat helpful. He declares that it's over, stating she is a cornered rat. She grips her sword tightly and contemplates that if she's destined to die here, she'll utilize every ounce of her life to force Kai to take as many enemies as possible with her, believing it's the best she can do for the Vice Lord. She channels her power to prepare for an attack. The leader of the Sound clan commands everyone to follow the great heavenly demon's order. She is shocked to hear this and turns back to see him. He orders everyone to charge and wipe out these wicked traitors who have learned the demonic blood reversal technique. They move to attack, and both sides engage in the fight. She observes this and wonders what's going on here. At the same time, in the grand hall of the inner castle of the heavenly demonic cult, Chin Yo-woon asks via telepathy if he truly intends to settle things with him here once and for all. He responds that he already told him. He is not just here to exonerate his name, but also to inherit the position of the Lord. Chin Yujong demands to know how dare he, and as the Lord, he commands every council elder and clan leader in the Grand Hall to restrain these traitors immediately. They all move, and all the councils surround him to protect him. He asks if they are all standing there. The scene shifts to 4 hours ago, at the southeastern side of the heavenly demonic cult Blade Clan's manor, in the main office of the Blade Clan. Chin Yo-woon stands in front of Bu Cheol-yug and thinks that as soon as Council Elder Bu sends out a telepathic message, half of his forces immediately surround the building, showing they have quite the security. He considers that the Blade Clan is in charge of the cult's eastern branch in Guangdong province, and if he can mobilize them, he will be able to help Council Elder Hwan, who's marching with the Negative Sword Brigade. He wonders how he will play this out. Bu Cheol-yug notices a mask in his hand and thinks about an artificial skin mask. If he had not taken it off, he would have mistaken him for Council Elder Hwan until the end. He thinks he would have never agreed to meet him if he had shown up as himself, and it was a pretty clever idea. He thinks that setting aside their hostile relationship, the Vice Lord has a point regarding the Lord's change, and it's something that he and the other council elders have noticed. He reflects on memory and considers the Vice Lord to be arguably one of their greatest assets, yet the Lord is simply discarding him. Chin Yo-woon remarks that time is limited. He acknowledges that he could easily resolve this by reporting him to the Lord. Chin Yo-woon responds that he could indeed do so if he truly believes that is the decision he wants to make. He can't help but acknowledge how bold and valiant Chin Yo-woon is, and he asks if he knows why the 6 clans, despite being called the foundation of the cult, bow their heads to the Chin family. He explains that their cult worships the demon god and fire, and it is the Lord's responsibility to communicate with them. The Chin family's lineage was chosen for this task, making Chin Yo-woon's current actions akin to attempting to bring down the heavens. He asserts that without just cause and reason, they have no grounds to stand on. Chen Yo-woon responds, implying that he doesn't believe he is worth rallying behind. He apologizes for his bluntness but confirms that it's true. Even if they were to temporarily halt their animosity, blindly following him would be too great a burden. He then asks if this arrangement would suffice. Bu Cheol-yoon is shocked to hear this. A guard communicates telepathically, inquiring if something is wrong and offering to enter immediately. He instructs them to stop and communicates telepathically, directing them not to allow anyone to enter for any reason. He is shocked to see Chen Yo-woon's heavenly demonic sword. The scene shifts to the present, where Chen Yu-jong expresses disbelief, questioning how this situation could have arisen, and observes that the council elders are protecting the Vice Lord. He denounces them as fools, daring to defy the Lord's command. Chen Yo-woon draws his heavenly demonic sword and brandishes it, shocking everyone present. A leader queries why the Vice Lord possesses the sword. Chen Yu-jong is incredulous, unable to believe how the Vice Lord obtained it. He wonders if that's why the council elders are supporting him, but quickly dismisses the idea, refusing to acknowledge it as a possibility. He understands that if he were to admit the sword's authenticity, the situation would be dire, and he would be unable to escape it unless he could prove the sword to be a fake. He communicates telepathically to Yu-jong, instructing him to break the sword. Yu-jong warns that if they don't handle the situation properly, their positions will be at risk. He acknowledges Yu-jong's assessment, realizing the consequences if he were to affirm the sword's legitimacy. Bu Cheol-young recalls a memory of when Chen Yo-woon met him, stating that he suddenly displayed the heavenly demonic sword and expected him to believe it without verification. He communicates telepathically with Chen Yo-woon, expressing his refusal to allow him to inspect the sword personally, as he fears the consequences if the sword were to fall into the Lord's hands. Chen Yo-woon advances the sword towards him, inviting him to proceed. Chen Yu-jong determines that he will weaken and break the sword by imbuing it with Kai as soon as he grabs it. However, when he holds the sword, his hand begins to burn, and he quickly releases it. He questions what is happening and observes his burning hand. He considers Chen Yo-woon to be vermin, accusing him of casting a wicked spell on the sword, and questions how dare he do so. He attempts to attack, but becomes frightened when he sees a large inugi in front of him, causing him to move back. He wonders if it vanished, pondering the identity of the massive black dragon he just witnessed and speculating if it could be an illusion conjured by the sword. A leader confirms that it is indeed the real heavenly demonic sword. Another asserts that it must be the heavenly demonic sword, the legendary artifact rumored to be crafted from the bones and blood of a black dragon, possessing the ability to select its owner. Mercenary stands up and declares that it is time for the cultists of the great heavenly demonic cult to heed the orders of the heavenly demon. He displays the medal of the heavenly demon's order, prompting everyone to bow down. Chen Yu-jong becomes angry and begins to verbally abuse Mercenary. Mercenary, as the guardian of the heavenly demon's order, announces that he will now relay the orders of the heavenly demonic founder, proclaiming glory to the demonic cult. Everyone echoes the sentiment, saying glory to the demonic cult. Chen Yu-jong interjects, demanding that they stop. Mercenary continues, stating that for passing the test left behind by the founder and obtaining the heavenly demonic sword, Vice Lord Chen Yo-woon shall inherit the title of heavenly demon. He communicates telepathically, urging him to save him, addressing Chen Yo-woon as the son of the second wife. Chen Yo-woon responds that as a descendant of the great heavenly demonic cult, he shall accept the great founder's order. His big brother communicates telepathically, suggesting there is a way for him to dominate them. Chen Yu-jong interrupts, commanding them to stop. He reflects that he lost to mere pawns, once again unable to protect him. Chen Yu-jong angrily questions if he dares to mock him. Everyone is startled by his voice. The scene shifts to a flashback, where Chen Yo-woon inquires about the reason for pulling the promised date ahead. Mercenary explains that it's because the Lord has recently become very suspicious of him after learning about the underground vault at the Demonic Academy. He moved the date ahead because he could no longer move as discreetly. Mercenary notes that the Lord he has seen is different from how he was in the past. He might have been cold, but he was not heartless. Chen Yo-woon questions if that is indeed the case. Mercenary responds, suggesting that it might be hard to believe, but there is something wrong with the Lord, or perhaps it's better to say that there has been a change. Chen Yo-woon inquires further about the change. Yeonmu Hwa asks what he means and if there is something wrong with his health. Marakium explains that the Lord can be seen constantly talking to someone. Yon Mu Hwa questions who this someone is, referring to Sir Chen Yuzhong. She expresses disbelief, asking what he means by that and dismissing the idea of Sir Chen Yuzhong being alive, stating that he died in battle against the Supreme King Hang Yon in the war against the evil coalition. Marakium clarifies that Supreme King Hang Yon currently leads the evil coalition and has been one of the 5th greatest martial masters in the Great Plain for the last 30 years. He adds that 15 years ago, when the previous lord, Chen Enjai, disappeared, Hang Yon invaded the cult's territory and waged war. He explains that this battle became known as the Battle of the Gizhu Temple Plains, during which Lord Chen Yuzhong ascended to the ranks of the 5th greatest martial masters. Chen Yowoon asks if he is suggesting that the Lord is conversing with the dead. He confirms, stating that he believes the Lord is hallucinating. Since the battle in Zhejiang province, the Lord has frequently been seen talking into thin air while gazing at a wall or a dark corner. Initially, he was only slightly concerned because it was momentary, but it seemed that something was gradually eroding the Lord's mind. Chen Yowoon inquires about the nature of this something. The scene shifts back to the present, where Bu Qiaoyang asks who Chen Yowoon is talking to at the moment. Chen Yuzhong asks what he means. Bu Qiaoyang explains that they are unable to see who Chen Yowoon is talking to right now. Chen Yuzhong points toward his chair and asks if Bu Qiaoyang is claiming he can't see brigade leader Chen Yuzhong. They are puzzled to hear this. Yuzhong hides behind the pillar and communicates telepathically, expressing that the situation has become quite interesting. Chen Yuzhong screams and warns that if Chen Yowoon continues to cross the line any further, he will not forgive him. He orders him to leave, stating that he has no right to be in the Grand Hall. Marakium interjects, stating that there is no one there. Regarding Sir Chen Yuzhong, he explains that he passed away in battle long ago, suggesting that it's not too late for Chen Yowoon to receive treatment from the demonic doctor. Chen Yuzhong becomes abusive, accusing Chen Yowoon of intending to revolt by claiming he has gone mad. He asserts that they are all attempting to drive him insane as part of a ploy to incite rebellion against him. He declares that he will once again rectify the order of the cult and points his sword toward him. Marakium moves to attack, but Chen Yowoon holds his shoulder to stop him. Marakium turns to look at him and wonders if his predictions were right all along. He believes he should have known this much earlier. Reflecting on their battle with the master they believe to be the head of the Blade God's 6 martial clan, he realizes that His Holiness's wounded condition did not seem well. It was not merely due to an internal wound, it was the byproduct of the demonic blood reversal technique. Chen Yuzhong states that it's all because of him, because of failures like him, that all this chaos has occurred within the cult, and he will take their lives with his own hands. Chen Yowoon wonders if he will keep calling them failures until the end, realizing that's what he wants in the end. He commands everyone to fall back, and they comply, moving around. He begins to use his power and removes his shirt. Bu Qiaoyang thinks that now he has every right to do this. However, even if he's gone half insane and his wounds have not entirely healed, his opponent is still a sword master and one of the top 5 strongest in Miram. He wonders if the current heavenly demon of this era can handle this. Chen Yuzhong attacks him, and he quickly moves back. Hang So-yu realizes he's being pushed by internal energy, finding this to be genuinely an unfair battle. He believes that if it were not for the heavenly demon's sword, his sword would have wounded him. As expected, he can't let his guard down even for a moment. He concludes that there's no longer any reason for him to hide the heavenly demon's kai. He decides to attack at full force and moves to attack his opponent. Ti Hyan observes Hang So-yu's aura spreading all around and realizes that if he enveloped his body with that kai, it would be on a totally different level from before. Chen Yuzhong notices that the kai of his sword is black and wonders if it's due to the heavy synergy or if this is something different, speculating that the demonic energy is making the kai of his sword more intricate and powerful. Chen Yuzhong tries to attack him with a heavenly demonic sword technique. Hang So-yu thinks it's fast and moves to counterattack with his sword. Chen Yuzhong tries to stop his attack with the sword, then moves back, pondering if this is the power of the heavenly demon's sword art, which he has only seen as markings. He reflects that he could not learn it himself because he could not figure out the secret of the kai, yet he wonders how this brat could have done so. He uses his power and gathers all the soldiers' swords to appear around him. A soldier exclaims about their swords, and all the swords gather around Chen Yuzhong. Chen Yo-woon sees this and remarks that they both have a similar idea. Chen Yo-woon then calls Hyo-bong. Hyo-bong quickly moves, holding a sword, throws it toward Chen Yu-jong and says, "Please take this." He then holds his sword and gets ready to attack. Chen Yu-jong notices a black sword on his right and a white blade on his left and asks if Chen Yo-woon thinks he is Elder Mu Jin-won, deeming it foolish of him, and throws swords toward him. Chen Yo-woon utilizes the force of the heavenly demonic with his right sword and the extreme art of the blade god with his left to attack. Chen Yu-jong is shocked to see his moves. Chen Yo-woon breaks his blades. He wonders if he could always double wield. Chen Yo-woon thinks he will have to thank the Great Guardian. Wielding 7 swords weakens his energy compared to when he had a single sword, and he moves to attack him again. He resolves to destroy the remaining 4 swords and move forward. He breaks all the swords. A piece of the sword hits Chen Yu-jong's eye, and he feels pain. He moves to attack and wonders if his connection to the summoned swords has been cut off. Hang So-yu wonders if the leader is getting weaker because of his injury and hopes the heavenly demon won't let them lose this opportunity. Chen Yo-woon observes that he's faltering, seeing it as his chance, and quickly moves to attack, but he recovers and is ready to counterattack. The floor starts breaking due to a power explosion. He upholds a big rock with power, shocking everyone. Chen Yu-jong gets startled and says, "Don't come closer." He quickly runs to attack and causes the floor to explode badly. Everyone moves and says, "Dodge it," everyone step back. Chen Yo-woon's and Chen Yu-jong's swords collide, causing an explosion. Chen Yu-jong's sword inflicts a cut on his face, while Chen Yo-woon's sword shatters into pieces. Quickly moving toward him, Chen Yo-woon declares that it's over for him. He unleashes his power, severely attacking and injuring Chen Yu-jong, who spits out blood. Everyone is shocked to witness the magic. A leader remarks on the extraordinary force exerted with just the back of the blade. Chen Yu-jong continues to cough up blood as the Grand Hall is badly destroyed. P. Hyan considers that the leader might have succumbed to an attack of this magnitude, but he acknowledges that there is still work to be done. Meanwhile, Chen Yo-woon observes Chen Yu-jong's deteriorating condition. He queries the heavenly demon, asking whether he has emerged victorious or suffered defeat. Through telepathy, he questions whether he will allow the traitor to prevail, and whether he will abandon the 6 clans responsible for the deaths of his beloved mother and wife. He urges himself not to yield, to mete out punishment to the traitor and his followers, and to restore order to the cult. He asserts that as long as he does not relent, the blood god reversal technique will assist him. Chen Yo-woon inquires further about the blood god reversal technique. He screams in anguish and recollects his memories. The scene shifts to a flashback. He reflects that Chen Yu-jong's mother, Kyung-hyeon, was the adopted daughter of the former Lord Kyung-bom-kang. This adoption occurred because Kyung-bom-kang's blood daughter, Kyung-yu-yoon, was unable to bear an heir with Lord Tisang. Therefore, Kyung-hyeon was adopted to serve as his concubine and produce an heir for the Lord. He further reflects that coincidentally, when Kyung-hyeon became pregnant, Kyung-yu-yoon also conceived at the same time. The Lord declared that both children were his, thus they must be given equal opportunities. He explains that this is how both Chen Yu-jong and Chen Yu-jing were acknowledged as candidates for the lordship. However, quite swiftly, the legal wife, Kyung-yu-yoon and others would consistently scorn and ignore Kyung-hyeon. Before Kyung-hyeon could even breastfeed Chen Yu-jong, she met with death after a long struggle. Lady Kyung interrupts him and demands to know who gave him permission to address her as aunt, insisting he address her as Lady Kyung. She asserts that his sole responsibility is to assist Yu-jung in ascending to the position of lord, and he must remember this. He assures her that he understands. Yu-jong apologizes to him on behalf of his mother's actions just then, promising that he will become the lord and ensure such occurrences do not happen again. He expresses gratitude for the comfort. Yu-jong asserts that he is serious and knows how much he is liked. He reflects that the only thing comforting Chen Yu-jong, who grew up amidst contempt, was the presence of Chen Yu-jing by his side. As time passes, a man questions whether he truly has the audacity to consider himself on the same level as them, asserting that he was fortunate to be born to the second wife, a member of the 6 great clans. He advises him to know his place and simply serve well. Despite entering the academy, the contempt from the other 5 clans persists. Chen Yu-jong wonders why he has to endure such treatment. He reflects that Chen Yu-jong survived his harsh childhood, believing that Yu Jing would ascend to the position of lord, but this hope was shattered when Chen Yuzhong began displaying talent in martial arts. He observes that Chen Yuzhong's talent was so exceptional that none of the other lord candidates could compare. By his third year, Chen Yuzhong was able to pass the 5th test of the Demonic Academy. After some time, Yuzhong approaches Yu Jing and calls out to him. Yu Jing becomes angry and tells him not to call his name. He reflects that since then, their relationship has deteriorated to the point of no return, and he knows that his talent is the cause of this. Yuzhong ceases attending training and starts to fade into the shadows. While lord candidates from other clans gather supporters, Chen Yuzhong accepts none. However, there is one person who persistently tries to become his supporter despite countless rejections. Yo Bolwei introduces himself as the young master of the Demon Sword clan and pleads for acceptance, promising to help him become the lord. He knows that the Demon Sword clan is a subordinate clan of the Sword clan, so he advises Yo Bolwei to support Yu Jing instead. However, Yo Bolwei insists on supporting Chen Yuzhong as the 4 years at the Demonic Academy draw to a close. After a while, Yo Bolwei states that after he graduates from the academy, he must immediately attack another candidate. He inquires what that means. Yo Bolwei explains that the other candidates have agreed to collaborate and eliminate him first, and Chen Yujing has also joined them. He becomes angry and insists that such talk is nonsense. Yu Jing would not betray him like that. Yo Bolwei asserts that he knows the location where they gather, suggesting he go and listen for himself. After a while, he observes several groups of people gathering in the forest from a distance. Qin Mujin, the lord candidate of the Wise clan, asks if everyone has assembled and if they are all prepared. Qin Yui, the lord candidate of the Stealth clan, states that he will pass, refusing to resort to such a cheap method. He questions Yu Jing, asking if he plans to participate, emphasizing that he won't change his mind just because they belong to the same clan. Yu Jing responds angrily, rejecting the idea of acknowledging the concubine-born individual and declaring his intention to join. Yu Zhong overhears the conversation from a distance and wonders why Yu Jing would join. He recalls a memory when Yu Jing assured him not to worry, as he would always stand by his side. Feeling tense, he holds his head and reflects that he is his brother. Yo Bolwei asks if he understands now and states that he must attack them first if he wants to survive. He tells him that he will ask one thing and inquires why he is revealing this information, considering that the Demon Sword clan operates under the Sword clan. Yo Bolwei explains it's because they share the same bloodline. He questions about the shared bloodline. Yo Bolwei elaborates, saying that his mother Kyung Hyun was originally his aunt. Before the Sword clan's lord, Kyung Bongkang forced his mother to be adopted into their family. Her name was Yo Hyun. He explains that despite Aunt Hyun having a fiancé, she was compelled to become an adopted daughter and endured harsh treatment before dying simply for giving birth to a mere lord candidate. He asks if he understands how hurtful and regrettable this incident was for their clan. Chen Yuzhong reflects that he grew up believing he should be grateful to this clan, but now realizes it was all a lie. Both he and his deceased mother were merely pawns to them. He advises him to attack them first as a means to survive and avenge his mother. Chen Yuzhong questions how he will face them all by himself. He responds that there is a method that will guarantee his victory. They approach them, begin attacking, and kill the others before facing Yu Jing. He exclaims, "No way," the demonic blood reversal technique. Holding his sword to attack, he warns, "Don't come closer." He advances and attacks him. Yo Bolwei observes this from a distance and thinks that it's not the demonic blood reversal technique. On the other side, Yu Zhong urges, "Calm down, let's talk." He reflects that it's an improved version under the command of the Sword Clan Lord, one that doesn't cause him to lose consciousness and has fewer side effects, the Blood God reversal technique. He pleads for mercy, acknowledging his wrongdoing and affirming their fraternal bond, and if not, he submits, pledging never to disclose today's events to anyone, thus pleading for clemency. Yo Bolwei insists on not allowing him to survive, urging for his swift execution, foreseeing future trouble for him. He reiterates his plea for mercy. Yo Bolwei emphasizes the need for prompt action. Yu Jing, raising his sword to strike, reminisces about their shared childhood memories when he expresses allegiance to his cause. He strikes, severing his arm. Yo Bolwei insists on not sparing him and moves to attack. Yu Zhong intervenes, declaring that henceforth he will obey his every command and lead a despicable life befitting. The scene shifts to the next day, where he reflects on how Chen Yuzhong was accused of murdering 4 young priest candidates and severing Chen Yuzhong's arm. Yuzhong was then tried, convicted, and imprisoned. Despite undergoing the blood god reversal technique, which was claimed to have no side effects, his consciousness remained unaffected, indicating strong aftereffects. His mother's soul appears, holding his face, and he questions why he didn't kill the individual. He responds, denying her identity as his mother. He reflects that only on the 5th day of utilizing a breathing technique did he succeed in calming the aftereffects. By the 10th day of his imprisonment, Yuzhong was released. The 4 clans, having lost their minor priest candidates, approached the patriarch, urging the clan to hold Chen Yuzhong accountable for his actions. However, their efforts were thwarted by the Sword Clan's vigorous opposition. After a while, he stands before Chen Yujing, who states that since he has aided him, he, in turn, will refrain from divulging the fact that he learned the demonic blood reversal technique from the Hazy Demon Sword Clan. He acknowledges his understanding. Shortly after, Chen Yuzhong cautions him not to approach any closer, reminding him that he had assured him the blood god reversal techniques would not yield any adverse effects. He queries whether he comprehends the nature of the dreadful illusions he must endure. Considering their familial connection and his past rescue, he declares he won't kill him but insists he stays away, then proceeds to depart. Yo Bulwi smirks, reflecting that once one gets a taste, they won't be able to stop. 1 year later, the scene shifts, and the Lord announces his intention to assume the position of Patriarch. Chen Yuzhong seeks clarification and expresses doubt that the position will go to Chen Yue. He argues that the frail child won't be able to overcome future challenges, emphasizing that the role of Patriarch entails more than just power, it carries burdens and responsibilities. The Lord stresses the weight of having the fate of 100,000 believers in his hands and advises Yuzhong to dispel his anger and focus on the clan's future. Yuzhong solemnly swears by the name of the Heavenly Demon Patriarch to dedicate his life to the Heavenly Demon cult. He explains that after Chen Yuzhong officially assumed the title of Patriarch, he endeavored to fulfill his promise to the former Patriarch by attempting to quell his long-standing anger. However, it proves challenging to suppress the anger that has accumulated over the years, making it difficult for him to even show affection to his wives. He realizes he must become stronger and cannot rely solely on his assistant's protection indefinitely. He elaborates that Chen Yuzhong, who unexpectedly ascended to the title of Patriarch, was weaker than the elders. Therefore, after attending clan affairs as a Patriarch, he dedicates the remainder of his time to training in martial arts. As time passes, a brown-haired woman remarks to Chen Yuzhong that his clothes are exceptionally neat and tidy. He explains that changing clothes every time is too bothersome, so he merely alters the outer layers for training. She expresses gratitude to him for always considering her. He prepares to leave, asserting that he has never done such a thing before. He explains that initially he merely found her cute, so he exchanged a few words with her. However, he found himself falling in love with the girl who always smiled at him, and his heart fluttered at her words, smiling at her every gesture. He describes her as his son. A few months later in the scene, he inquires if she is pregnant with his child. She apologizes, stating that this goes against the clan's principles and she intends to leave quietly. He questions her decision to leave, asserting that there is no need for such nonsense. He insists she stays by his side, assuring her that he will protect her and their child. He explains that soon after, Chen Yuzhong held a palace meeting and disclosed the fact that he has a child with Huan, urging for a wedding. However, the opposition he faced from the lords was unprecedented, requiring the intervention of the former patriarch Chen Injai for them to reach a resolution. He elaborates that, ultimately, Huan was ordered to live outside of the palace in a modest dwelling. Despite this, the patriarch visited her happily every day, expressing his wish for their happiness to endure indefinitely. He explains, however, that as his affection towards Huan and Chen Yulun grew, the other 6 wives from the 6 clans became bitter and envious, leading them to harass Huan. Then, one day, the former patriarch Chen Injai, who had emerged from seclusion, suddenly disappeared. He details how the demonic cult dispatched individuals to locate him and attempted to prevent the leakage of this information. However, the forces of evil discovered it, prompting the leader Han Yon to launch a large-scale invasion at Giju, the location of the heavenly demonic cult. This war persisted for close to 6 months. He explains that no one could halt the advance of leader Hang Yon, who killed 2 elders and Qin Yuzhong. Eventually, the patriarchs had no choice but to become involved in the conflict. However, at a certain point during the war, Hyin fell ill. After some time passes, he approaches her and asks if she is okay, apologizing for not being able to fulfill his promise of staying by her side and protecting her. She lies on the bed in a bad state, telling him not to worry about her and to go and return safely. She reassures him that with the demon lord's protection, he will recover quickly. A servant announces that it's time for them to depart. He assures her that he will return swiftly, and she replies affirmatively, stating that she will be waiting for him. He explains that Qin Yuzhong did not realize at that moment that it would be the last time he would see his only love. Hang Yon rushes to fight with Qin Yuzhong, but he pushes him away, causing Hang Yon to fall down and vomit blood. Qin Yuzhong remarks that a person like Hang Yon is the patriarch, adding that compared to Qin and Jai, he's nothing but an immature kid. He expresses gratitude to Hang Yon, stating that thanks to him, he'll be able to write a new history for Miram. He predicts that the future generation will call him the one who defeated the demonic cult, King Hang Yon. Hang Yon disagrees, thinking that it can't be true. If he loses, he doesn't want to resort to this. He then runs to attack Qin Yuzhong. However, in the end, Hang Yon is forced to retreat after a series of attacks from Qin Yuzhong, who is described as a beast. With this, Qin Yuzhong forces King Hang Yon to retreat and establish himself as one of the 5 strongest, succeeding the previous patriarch. He reflects that when he returned to the cult, he received the news that his wife had passed away. He recalls that the demonic Dr. Beek Zhongwu had stated the cause of death was poisoning. Qin Yuzhong conducted a thorough investigation into the cult, but could not find the culprit. He considers that what worsened the heartbroken Qin Yuzhong's condition was the aftereffects of the blood god reversal technique. Even during his wife's funeral, he would lock himself in the training room and battle the hallucinations and the severe headaches caused by the aftereffects. King Hang Yon bleeds profusely and laments that he arrived too late. He reflects that he continued to rage and wail until all the walls were painted with his blood, desperately holding on to his sanity as he felt he was losing it. He considers the possibility of losing his child, feeling scared at the thought. It takes until the winter of that year for him to emerge from the training room. Qin Yuzhong observes that Qin Yuzhong, who emerges from the training room, is much different from before. There is a new coldness on top of his already expressionless face, and he becomes very cynical as he stands in his room. He wonders who in the world could be responsible, with his only concern being Qin Yo-woon. He believes the culprit is definitely among the 6 clans. He fears that if he continues neglecting the 6 wives from the 6 clans, his child might be in danger. He mentions that they're preventing him from learning martial arts. Marikiam agrees, adding that Lady Hwa promised the 6 wives that she would not allow him to learn breathing techniques. He concludes that this means the child is already in a dangerous position. Meanwhile, Marikiam agrees and states that according to the demonic doctor, Lord Qin Yo-woon was already poisoned before while he was away at war. He considers if Qin Yo-woon did that to protect the child, Hwa Yon, and wonders what he should do. If he followed his heart, he would just tear apart and kill everyone. He reflects on the day when Qin Yuzhong decided to change the demonic cult so that the 6 clans would no longer be its foundation. He resents his father, acknowledging that although he wanted to raise him under his protection, doing so would make it harder to track down the culprit who poisoned Hwa Yon. Despite feeling like his heart is tearing apart, he decides to use himself as bait in order to protect himself from suffering the same fate as his mother. After a while, he recalls 10 years later, on Demonic Academy entrance day. Lord Qin Yuzhong feels unable to hide his nervousness. In order to maintain his facade, he tries his best not to show it. He addresses the students, urging them to train their martial arts at this place and become the cult's strength, believing it to be essential. He looks at Qin Yo-woon and recognizes the child at a glance because he resembles Hwa Yon so much. The resemblance nearly chokes him up, but he turns away. Returning to the present, he asks if the right guardian is taking in that child. Marikiam confirms it, and he instructs to inform the left guardian and to take action. He emphasizes that he can't let his son fail the first and second tests. Marikiam agrees and says he will pay off the security guards at the infirmary. He reflects that about 2 months have passed, and right before the 3rd test, the Sword Sect had finally taken the bait, breaking the promise not to study the demonic blood reversal technique. The Red Martial Sword Clan, part of the Hazy Demon Sword Clan, was found guilty as subjects for testing. He recalls that Qin Yuzhong sent the Right Guardian to arrest the entire clan and ordered him to kill the members who wouldn't cooperate. He then reflects on another 3 years later when an unknown clan suddenly captured Zhejiang and the situation became serious. Qin Yuzhong joined hands with the forces of justice to attack them. He determines that he has to take care of this before that child graduates from the academy. He reflects that he rushed because this could have been the first significant war to occur in 15 years, and he was afraid that this situation could be a repeat of what happened in the past, where he wouldn't be able to protect his son. He considers that the Blade God's 6 martial clan was stronger and more dangerous than any opponent he had ever faced, and the elders couldn't face them, so Qin Yuzhong and the Great Guardian had to intervene, and when they did, he appeared. He reflects that because of his tremendous power, Qin Yuzhong felt like an immature kid who couldn't face an enlightened grandmaster. He acknowledges that in a matter of mere seconds, he was pushed back on the defensive, and attacks were launched against him. The other person responds that he is not him while blocking his attack and counter-attacking. He contemplates, and after uttering words that cannot be understood, he executes a strike to finish Qin Yuzhong, and at that moment, images of Hwa and that child pass by, recalling both of their happy faces. He considers that if he dies here, that child will be alone and reiterates that he can't leave the child alone. He recalls that Dr. Baek Jong said after he used that special martial art, he saw images of Hwa for a month, and he hopes he refrains from using that martial art again, because if he uses it again, he can't guarantee that he will recover from the after effects again. He acknowledges that he has no choice but to think he can't die here and rushes to attack him. He reflects that in the end, Qin Yuzhong uses the Blood God reversal technique again, and he loses consciousness. After a while, Qin Yuzhong regains his senses while Marikium sits near him and asks if he is all right. Qin Yuzhong calls them, then he agrees and says it looks like the enemies have retreated. He wonders what is going on and how he did that, realizing he doesn't remember anything. Qin Yuzhong arrives there and says he overdid it again, asking what if he faints if he keeps doing this, and stating that the only person who can set this cult straight is him. He advises not to overdo it, while Qin Yuzhong recalls all past events and realizes that he has to decide the direction of the cult. He recalls saying that the only ending for him is defeat and asserts that he will straighten the direction of the cult. Yajiam Kang asks if his eyes are completely red, while the lady with him becomes scared and says, no way if he is using the demonic blood reversal technique right here and now. Meanwhile, another person laughs and says there is merit to provoking him. He thinks about causing chaos, eliminating the 6 great clan lords, and finishing his job. He considers that no, it would be better if he exploded and turned this place into a sea of blood. Qin Yuzhong taps his foot in anger on the ground, and an explosion occurs, breaking everything. He roars at full power, and his clothes tear as he transforms into a monstrous figure. He instructs the cadets to get out of the way and asks the Nano machine to show him the impact points of the fragments. The Nano machine starts displaying the impact points, and he blocks big rocks in the air while the cadets thank him for saving their lives. He quickly runs towards them and urges them to hurry and go to a safe location. Qin Yuzhong shouts that everyone who tries to stop him will be met with death, then punches the floor in anger, breaking it, and throws big rocks towards him. He quickly approaches him, putting a hand on his head and the other hand on his chest, and instructs the Nano machine to start scanning. The Nano machine acknowledges and begins scanning. Qin Yuzhong realizes it's an electric shock on top of the head using the right hand and on the chest using the left hand, while Qin Yo-woon uses his Kai powers to control him. After some time, he falls down, shocking everyone. Qin Yo-woon thinks it's a good thing he analyzed him through the videos last night. An old man remarks that he hasn't made it known, but up to this moment, he has been protecting him. He still can't believe it and thinks he'll hear the truth from him directly. He grabs his neck and asks who he is. Yo-bulwi wonders who this guy using changing steps is, and the blood reversal technique should be blocking any unknown energy. But how could he still be this strong? Qin Yo-woon asks him who he is. He replies, asking what he is talking about, and another person says he's Heavenly Demon Yo-bulwi, the leader of the Buju Sword Clan. Qin Yo-woon, surprised, asks about the Buju Sword Clan, thinking if it's the Buju Sword Clan, it is a hidden clan under the Demon Sword Clan. Yo Bulwi communicates through sound telepathy, instructing to kill the traitors in front of him, cut off the necks of his followers, and correct his divine cult's order. He replies that's what he said to the headmaster and asks why he is surprised to hear his own words. He says he talked to him about them plotting against him, and now he's pretending to be him. Yo Bulwi thinks it's nonsense. If he really overheard the whole thing, it's dangerous. If he does something wrong, the plan will be exposed, and he doesn't want to let him know. He tries to say something, but Chen Yo-woon stops him and asks who allows him to talk freely. Yo Bulwi thinks damn it, he needs to get them out of this castle, and says through sound telepathy that the plan failed, Brigade Yo. Chen Yo-woon replies, no way, Brigade Yo and the small cult leader are going to die, and in the meantime, they'll clear this place up and withdraw. He tries to attack again and says he loses, there is no way, while he blocks his attack and says he has seen it doesn't work for him, grabbing his face, but he steps back quickly. He thinks he has suppressed the top of his head and his conception vessel, but he still is able to move. He once again moves to grab his face, but he quickly steps back, realizing it's different. It's definitely akin to the reverse blood technique, but his pupils don't turn red. He considers if the backflowing route is different. He reflects that everyone has a hidden trick up their sleeve and questions whether they would hand over the real reverse blood sacred art to the cult leader and the sword demon. He notes the only disadvantage is that the duration is only about half the length. He responds by asking if the reason the heavenly demon was subdued just now is because of that. Another person commands to bring him down immediately, and they all rush to capture him, but he counterattacks and throws them away. Yo Bulwi ponders what kind of defense that is and believes that half the length of time is sufficient to kill him, so he attacks. Chen Yo-woon warns the heavenly demon to watch out and cuts his hand, expressing regret that only one arm was severed, but he supposes he can manage with just his head and body. He berates him, asking if he thinks he will allow him to treat him in such a manner, and moves to attack him again, while Chen Yo-woon also attacks, cutting off his other hand. He screams in pain, finding it impossible to comprehend how someone could be so powerful. He contemplates his defeat, realizing that if he wants to withdraw while buying time, he might as well kill himself. Yahello also sustains injuries and realizes he is lost, while a cadet announces that he has captured him as ordered. He commands the current heavenly demon to subdue all warriors and guards of the Buju sword clan. If they rebel, he is authorized to eliminate them all. Lee Hwa Myung identifies him as Go Wang Hul. The guards observe Go Wang Hul and rush to attack him, while Hyo Bong and Beat Gi also arrive to assist him, swiftly defeating them all. More guards appear, and one of them commands the others to dispose of them quickly. Beat Gi remarks that it seems they still fail to grasp the situation, urging Go Wang Hul to attack, with him echoing the sentiment. Beat Gi questions if he just ordered him and proceeds to attack them. Meanwhile, Chen Yo-woon comments that he supposes they still do not comprehend the significance of the elders from the three main clans aiding him, advising that, nonetheless, he ought to be concerned about himself at present. Yo Bulwi contemplates that he cannot allow this situation to persist and is certain that he spared him in order to ascertain who is backing him. He contemplates that rather than surviving and enduring torture, it would be better to reverse his Kai flow and end his own life. A warrior approaches and inquires if that person is still alive. Chen Yo-woon sits beside him as he remarks that he must be considering intervening, but it's futile, and he coughs. He asserts that there's no escaping this end and nowhere beyond the reach of their school's power, while Chen Yo-woo approaches him, placing his hand on his chest, emitting a light from his hands. He observes the light and recalls he clearly informed them it was not them. Chen Yo-woon performs some magic on him, causing him to shout as his body hair burns, attracting everyone's attention. He questions how he is still alive. Chen Yo-woon smiles and confirms that it worked, then asks him to repeat what he was saying about his school. After a while, Yo Bulwi curses inwardly. Following the conclusion of the grand battle to some extent, the 4th elder, Yahello, and the 6th elder, Mango, lead their forces to the manor of the Shadow Sword clan. He reflects that they believed no one would be able to escape easily because they had sealed off all the outer gates and activated the emergency system. However, upon their arrival, they find the manor of the Shadow Sword clan in the east already ablaze. The scene shifts 3 days later, where Recap reports that they have extinguished the fire at the Shadow Sword clan, but they couldn't locate any survivors. He mentions that most of the bodies were burned, while it is believed the remaining few took their own lives. He remarks that they have thoroughly prepared to eliminate any loose ends at any time. Chin Yo-woon inquires about the progress of the investigation into Yo-bulwi and the Sword Clan. He is informed that the Left Guardian has been interrogating Pi-hyen and Yo-bulwi since yesterday, but nothing significant has been uncovered yet. Additionally, all individuals associated with the Shadow Sword Clan have been found deceased. All blood relatives of the Sword Clan have been detained, and the combat groups and battalions under their command have been disbanded and suspended. Among the guards, a total of 14 individuals have been identified as belonging to the Shadow Sword Clan. Originally, there were only 5 of them on record, but 9 were recently added. Chin Yo-woon acknowledges this information while he mentions again that the 11th Elder has requested to see him. He instructs them to come in, and Hwan Yui enters, greeting the Heavenly Demon and explaining she has come to see him because she has something to report. He inquires if she has returned already, while Marakiam notes that he has changed his human skin mask. She chuckles and remarks on how she cannot rest when their Heavenly Demon is working so hard for their cult. He asks if she has found something. She replies that 3 days ago, during the process of collecting the Shadow Sword Squad's bodies after their battle, they discovered that 3 or 4 bodies were missing, including Ju Jom, the leader of the Shadow Sword Squad. In response, they dispatched a tracking team to Fujian Province and Gyeongsi Province using the Invisible Clan's information network, and today, a message arrived from the northern part of Fujian Province. Meanwhile, he inquires if they have found them, and she confirms, stating they discovered their traces there and requested assistance from the Wuhan region. But they all went missing while tracking them down, apologizing for the situation. He reassures her, saying it's all right and couldn't be helped anyway, then suggests moving on as he walks away. She expresses her gratitude for his understanding. He examines the map, pointing to a location and noting that the Wu Moon village is north of Fujian Province, indicating that it seems they passed by Zhejiang Province. She agrees, saying that's what he's guessing. He wonders if his prediction is correct and recalls that at the banquet with the Miram Alliance, it was mentioned that the escort guard was also responsible for inspecting the liquor bottles. He remarks that, as expected, there is a high possibility that they are related to the Six-Blade Martial School and informs Marakiam that he mentioned the Shadow Sword Clan was recruited from outside about 60 years ago. Marakiam agrees, adding that it is said they were defeated by the Grand Cult leader in his prime during the Northern Conquest and were converted before joining their cult. He ponders that he doesn't understand and wonders if they have been waiting for that long. He thinks it has only been a month since the Six-Blade Martial School made its appearance in Miram, and the gap during that period is too significant to make a connection. He recalls Yo-bulwi's words about there being no place where the power of their school doesn't reach and realizes that the school he was referring to shouldn't have been the Shadow Sword Clan, contemplating a way to make that individual open his mouth. Marakiam looks at him and asks if something is wrong. He replies, asking Marakiam to make some arrangements, as he believes he needs to go see the daimonic doctor. The scene shifts to the Heavenly Demon Cult's inner palace ceremony, where Chin Yo-woon arrives. Dr. Baek Jong and his followers kneel in front of him, and Dr. Baek Jong greets the Heavenly Demon. Chin Yo-woon acknowledges his efforts, and Dr. Baek Jong responds that it's his duty as the Patriarch's doctor, expressing his regret over his lack of skill, which makes it difficult to determine exactly what happened. He asks for forgiveness. Yo-bulwi interjects, shouting no, and repeatedly apologizes while becoming emotional, mentioning Hwayeon. Chin Yo-woon looks at him, contemplating how he wants to know the truth and his inner feelings, but he never expects him to react like this. He reassures Yo-bulwi not to feel guilty, stating he called him here for a different reason. He inquires if Dr. Baek Jong has finished analyzing the medicine found at the banquet hall. Dr. Baek Jong confirms that he has analyzed the one containing poppies, but wonders why he wants this information. After a while, Chin Yo-woon arrives at the ceremony, where they announce the arrival of the Heavenly Demon and greet him. He notices another seat beside the throne and reflects that although they accepted him as the Heavenly Demon last time and the situation is now clear, he observes the other council elders. He speculates that they are probably thinking he didn't expect them to help him for free, and regardless of what happens, he will benefit the most. He proceeds to the throne and takes his seat, while Bu Chiao-yang approaches him and states, "Heavenly Demon, the seat next to him is for someone." Chin Yo-woon interrupts, breaking the seat, and declares there is no seat next to him. Yajium Kyung wonders if he attacked by touching the seat next to him, and Hang So-yu thinks about how stubborn he is. Bu Cheol-yu considers holding back for now, emphasizing that the eldership revision is currently more important. He suggests starting the meeting and attempts to discuss agendas, but Merikium interrupts, expressing his desire for the third elder to participate in the meeting. He insists on discussing matters related to the Heavenly Demon's patriarchal inauguration first. He questions the nature of this proposal, while Jajium Kyung asks about the inauguration. Hang So-yu objects, stating that this topic hasn't been discussed at all. Jajium Kyung agrees, questioning how he can proceed as he likes with something that wasn't discussed. Bu Cheol-yu suggests it's not too late to discuss this after the current patriarch wakes up as he looks at the other elders. He contemplates how the three sects are walking on eggshells around the other lords, considering them laughable. He reflects on the fact that unlike the current patriarch who ascended to power through the previous patriarch, the heavenly demon has been gradually amassing power since his days in the academy. On the other hand, their 6 sects have been partially wiped out, with the poison sect completely eradicated and both the sword sect and the shadow sect disbanded. Merikium inquires if only these 3 objects, looking at them all. Sama Yui reflects that it's a good thing he convinced Manga the previous night after the elders' meeting, realizing it wasn't a difficult decision to make after discovering Chin-Yo-woon is the heavenly demon. He curses inwardly, realizing that if this continues, he will be outnumbered by the other elders. He wonders if he can only rely on the lords of the small clans. He asks if there are any objections among the lords. An elder raises his hand and mentions that there are 3 along with 3 elders. Bu Cheol-yu curses inwardly, realizing that those are the only people who agree. Hwan Yui reflects on how foolish it is to underestimate the influence of the heavenly demon, a figure of absolute authority who has appeared. She wonders if they truly believe their influence remains the same as before. Bu Cheol-yu concludes that he has no other choice and addresses the heavenly demon, stating that in their cult, there are standard procedures for such matters. He believes it's appropriate to wait until the patriarch wakes up to proceed, especially since they have discovered he was deceived by a spy. Moon Yeon reflects on the persistence of the current patriarch and the potential consequences of such division. He observes Chin-Yo-woon and speculates that the heavenly demon must be in a bad mood. Sama Yui reports that Dr. Baek-jong's treatment has shown no progress and acknowledges the concerns of the 3 elders. However, he asserts that they cannot leave the leadership position vacant, especially considering the uncertain threat posed by the Blood God's 6 martial clan. Bu Cheol-yu suggests further insistence on his point, proposing that if Dr. Baek-jong's treatment isn't effective, they should seek divine help and await the patriarch's recovery before proceeding. He emphasizes that their cult's leader is still the patriarch, and there is no reason to abdicate his position and disregard established procedures. Sama Yui reflects that even in this situation, they show no intention of backing down, and it's evident they are trying to buy time to increase their clan's power again. Bu Cheol-yu declares that he will now step back and states he will not participate in any meetings until the patriarch recovers, leading them to walk out, while Merikium urges not to let them leave. Chin-Yo-woon intervenes, instructing them to let them go as it works out for him. He expresses gratitude, stating that thanks to this, he now knows who is on his side and who his enemy is. On the same day at 7, at the Inner Palace Banquet Hall Castle, Hang So-yu remarks on how he invited them here to consult with them and Elder Bu Cheol-yu, while Yajium Kyung adds that on top of that, he has approved most of their requests, making him almost feel like it's a trap. Bu Cheol-yu reassures them that it's not a trap and that the only things he has to be careful about are the alcohol and food. He acknowledges that there's nothing wrong with being cautious and remarks that he's a little late. Chin-Yo-woon arrives and they greet him, expressing their gratitude that he has agreed to attend such an amicable meeting. They offer him a drink, pour some tea, and give it to Chin-Yo-woon, who accepts and drinks it. Hang So-yu observes that it seems they haven't tampered with the food, allowing her to slowly enjoy this small banquet. Yajium Kyung resolves to obtain the vacant seats of the 1st to 3rd elder, believing that they can control half of the power and influence in the cult by doing so. Bu Cheol-yu reflects on how their power, once divided among 6 people, is now divided among 3, which works out for the better. He contemplates that the patriarch's position, monopolized by the shadow sect and the sword sect for nearly 100 years, can now be theirs. Kyung laughs and comments on how seeing such high-quality food makes it apparent that he must be quite concerned about their combined forces. They move to the kitchen and see a beef to cut for meat. He expresses disbelief that they're having freshly cut beef grilled over charcoal. Hang So-yu expresses her anticipation for its taste. Bu Cheol-yug laughs and remarks that it would have been better if they could have done something like this from the beginning. Now, regarding their discussions, Chin Yo-woon asks if he would like to try a delicacy before that. He inquires about the meaning of delicacy. He explains that it's a dish he recently ate, but he heard it's a famous delicacy in Beijing. Since they've decided to have a friendly relationship, he offers to treat him. Meanwhile, Chin Yo-woon goes to the chef, takes the knives, folds his sleeves, and extracts the cow's heart, slicing it into pieces. Hang So-yu becomes irritated, thinking about the raw cow's heart. He responds that it's delicious if she adds a little bit of sauce, but if she dips it in the sauce he made, he guarantees it will taste much better. Kyung remarks that it's been a while since he has seen this, while Bu Cheol-yug thinks he has tried all kinds of food. Kyung tries the meat slice with sauce and comments that it tastes as good as expected. Bu Cheol-yug reflects that it is indeed a delicacy, and he thought it would be fishy, but it's lighter than he thought. Hang So-yu thinks it doesn't suit her taste, and Chin Yo-woon takes a sip of his drink, stating that now that they have tasted the delicacy, they can talk about the agreement. Bu Cheol-yug acknowledges that he understands, while Kyung thinks that finally, he doesn't know how much he is willing to give them, but he has to get as much out of him as possible. He states that before discussing further, let him outline his requirements first. Bu Cheol-yug asks what his requirements are and what he is suddenly talking about. He explains that they can only reach an agreement after addressing each other's needs. Bu Cheol-yug agrees, saying, "Alright, please go ahead." He reveals that they will abolish the 6 main clan system that they have been maintaining from the past. Bu Cheol-yug interrupts, asking Heavenly Demon just now, what did? Chin Yo-woon interrupts him, saying he is not done yet. Bu Cheol-yug requests Chin Yo-woon to continue, while Chin Yo-woon proceeds by saying secondly, they will change the ranking system of the elders' positions from traditional martial prowess to a system based on martial glory's achievements. Hang So-yu asks for pardon, and he reiterates that thirdly, all clans in their cult can't possess more than one armed group, and any additional armed groups will be restructured into units under their cult's management. He taps on the table in anger, causing it to break. Mercenary intervenes, putting a sword at Bu Cheol-yug's neck and questioning what he is trying to do. Chin Yo-woon explains that he's merely discussing his requirements for a friendly discussion. Mercenary questions how it is friendly, noting that what he is saying sounds more like a declaration of war. Meanwhile, Chin Yo-woon explains that in order not to escalate the situation as he requested, he has held this feast in an open space, sent all the guards back, and only had the Grand Guardian and some attendants accompany him. She shouts, questioning if he thinks that makes sense, stating that the condition he has put forward now is no different from saying he's going to take away their 3 main clans' power. Bu Cheol-yug responds, addressing the Heavenly Demon, stating that he knows all of their 3 main clans' forces are currently on standby outside the inner castle. Chin Yo-woon replies that's the condition they guys put up before this discussion. Bu Cheol-yug continues, stating that their numbers make up 20% of their cult's total power, and questioning if he thinks he will be able to keep the 6 Blades Martial School, the Miram Alliance, and the Evil Alliance in check after losing them all. Mercenary asks how he dare threaten the Heavenly Demon, and Chin Yo-woon responds that, as expected, it's hard to talk nicely to them, instructing them to kneel down. Bu Cheol-yug wonders what the hell is happening, feeling pain in his heart, while Kyung realizes that the pain is in his danshan, preventing him from moving his inner kai. Hang So-yu also feels pain and wonders what is happening. They all cry out due to the pain. Bu Cheol-yug notices that the pain disappears after they kneel and demands to know what he did to them. He explains that it was a poison worm, perfect for people like them, whose heads are full of rotten things. They ask what he means by poison worm, and he confirms it, explaining that he fed the cow they ate in advance with the poison worm, which then made a nest in the cow's heart. Kyung cries out in pain while she asks what's wrong with him. Chin Yo-woon explains that it seems like they tried to move their inner kai during the time that the pain disappeared and don't think they can get rid of it so easily. He adds that the poison worm was created by the heavenly daimonic founder himself and only the heavenly demon can control it. and if the guys don't follow his orders or pose a threat, they will suffer a painful death. Bu Chiao-yug asks who the heavenly demonic founder is and thinks he got them. Chin Yo-woon confirms this, stating that he almost forgot his fourth requirement. Bu Chiao-yug asks what his fourth requirement is, and he replies that, in return for accepting them as his subordinates, he wants to receive a proper tribute. He explains that for the sake of their friendly relationship, he'd like to receive from the wives of the three main clan's leaders, specifically, a right arm from each one of them. Chin Yo-woon sits in the patriarch's office and thinks that he thought they'd show their pride and confidence as elders, but in the end, preserving their own lives was more important. He considers that the wife of the stealth sex elder is already dead, so Elder Ja Jeum Kyung didn't get the blood of his kin on his hands. He reflects that he did everything to safeguard his own safety, and though he'd like to take care of them right away if he thinks about the current power of the cult, it would be best to control them using the snake's poison and disperse the forces of the three sects. He wonders if the former patriarchs faced the same issues as well. If he's unable to get rid of the enemies from within out of fear of losing his power, there's only one answer. He concludes that he'll have to strengthen the cult's forces so there'll be enough to handle them. Meanwhile, he considers that he'll cultivate new masters and drive them out, thinking that this won't take long. He states, Heavenly Demon, he must put on his formal attire and get ready, as it's already time. The scene shifts to the inner palace of the demonic warrior cult, where many cadets gather. One of them attempts to move forward, but guards block his way, instructing him to move back a bit more. He questions how they are supposed to move back when they want to see the cult's new leader up close. The guards acknowledge their feelings but emphasize that it's dangerous, so they should please keep their distance. As they hear the beating of the drums, they realize that it's finally starting, and he'll finally be inaugurated. Go Wang-hal says he's truly moved that he had finally risen as the patriarch, and Baek-gi agrees, saying that it feels just like yesterday when he was worrying about the grand tournament for the minor priesthood back at the academy. Yeonmu Hwa interjects, expressing her sympathy for Hyo-bong because, more than anyone else, he was the one who wanted to watch the inauguration up close. Everyone looks at her as she continues, mentioning how excited Hyo-bong was when the Lord's inauguration was decided, but he became despondent when he heard he had to watch the event from afar. Baek-gi remarks that there's not much they can do when being assigned to the podium would only amount to over a week's salary. Go Wang-hal agrees, saying it's unfortunate since Hyo-bong wanted to watch the Lord's inauguration up close. A guard announces that the inauguration will begin and requests everyone to settle down. They all look at him, and Ho-sang-hwa asks who that is, feeling like she has seen him somewhere before. Hyo-bong approaches, surprising them all. Baek-gi reassures them, saying they were worried for nothing, and Go Wang-hal agrees. Meanwhile, the guards blow the vessels and beat the drums. Marikium arrives with a medal and some gifts, and all the cadets give blessings to him, repeatedly saying long live the demonic warrior cult. Marikium addresses the followers of the great demonic warrior cult, announcing the heavenly demon's order. He states that they will now begin the inauguration of the great demonic warrior cult's patriarch. After a while, Chin Yo-woon arrives, and everyone looks at him. They offer their sincerest congratulations to him while kneeling. Moon Jae-yu communicates with him through sound telepathy, expressing that she now truly considers him as the young master. Another person laughs, remarking that the patriarch is his apprentice, and wonders how long he's going to keep calling him that. All the elders arrive, and Chin Yo-woon thinks to himself about his mother, and how he'll finally be able to deal with the ones responsible for all of this, aiming to change the cult so that such injustices and tragedies won't happen again. He looks at all the cadets while they acknowledge him as the current heavenly demon. Marikium arrives and announces that Chin Yo-woon, the newly appointed 24th patriarch, accepts the heavenly demon's order. He declares himself to be the descendant of the great demonic warrior cult, Chin Yo-woon, accepting the heavenly demon's order. Marikium instructs him to hand him the torch. Hyo-bong agrees while he reflects that he was his very first subordinate, and he always had faith in him. Hyo-bong congratulates him, expressing that he will never forget this moment, and he points the torch to him. Chin Yo-woon reciprocates the sentiment, saying neither he nor Hyo-bong will become emotional. He blows the fires there and declares that he lays his body on this flame so he won't hold on to any regrets about life and death, illuminating his path, leaving only ashes of joy and sadness in its wake. He repeats that he lays his body on this flame so he won't hold on to any regrets about life and death. He continues, saying it illuminates his path, leaving only ashes of joy and sadness in its wake, and remarks that the world is filled with countless worries. Marakium announces, in accordance with the heavenly demon's order, that Shin-Yo-Woon, this generation's heavenly demon and minor priest, will take over as the patriarch. As the 24th patriarch, he receives the imperial crown, and Marakium approaches him to place the crown upon his head. He reflects that he feels like a normal person who hasn't learned martial arts. Guard Jang becomes excited and emotional, congratulating him and expressing certainty that even Lady HWA is smiling from heaven, then hugs him. He looks at his subordinates and notices that they have prepared the best gift for him. He thanks them, and they all become elated as he waves his sword in the air. All the cadets pray for his long life. He reflects that just like that, the 24th patriarch and second